Warrior Lore. Chapter 597 Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique. Chapter 597 Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique. Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique. The memory flow from the blood vein ring flooded Yan's brain. Surprisingly, it was an ancient technique, which was to refine the heaven flame. It was called Heaven Flame Divine Refining. Refining heaven flames fused them to make the fire of life. This flame could light up the souls to create the original soul. The Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique was both profound and mysterious, developed a long time ago in the ancient times. Although he had the complete technique guidance, he couldn't learn by himself. He didn't know how to do it. Besides the heaven flames, this technique required 3 primary materials and more than 10 admixtures. He had heard about those dozens of auxiliary materials, but he had never known about the 3 key materials. They were thunder witch wood, blood soul divine water, and 5-element crystal marrow. The electric current of that memory overflowed from the blood vein ring when the barrier inside the ring was broken. It wasn't different from the rampage or death and life seal. The Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique crossed his head once, then became a soul seal, falling into the deepest place of his memory. Unless his soul was burned, he would never forget it. Although he got the technique to refine them, without the heaven flames, the key materials and the auxiliary materials, and the comprehension of the meanings of the technique, everything would stay only in his thought. Yan evaluated the situation in silence. He couldn't help but shake his head, not wanting to overthink. Only gathering the 9 heaven flames would take an unknown time, and he had never heard about the 3 key materials. All of a sudden, Yan found that the path he'd chosen was an endless way. However, this Heaven Flame Divine Refining Technique reminded him of one word: original soul. At this moment, he didn't know what the original soul was. From his knowledge, he knew that after the spirit realm warriors had entered the true God realm, they could create the God soul. But he had never heard about the original soul, and whether or not it was related to the God soul. Yan contemplated for a while, then stopped thinking about it. He let his mind sink into the blood vein ring. A dark green flame was confined inside a rainbow halo. Countless red lightning strikes were coiling around that flame, as though they were the chains that tied the flame tightly. "Get off me! Damn you, low human! Your living form isn't qualified to coexist with me." The corpse vanishing flame's soul fluctuation was strong. It was clamoring and threatening anxiously with a hot temper. Yan was cold. A flow of his soul formed a phantom to look at the flame in the blood vein ring. "You'd better stay here. Wait until you calm down and get contented with your lot. We will then talk." "Harumph, my living form's low? I don't know how high you are. Don't babble and lose your face." While he was talking with the green flame, the ice-cold flame and the earth flame were approaching inaudibly from the other corners of the blood vein ring. Then, they stared at the corpse vanishing flame. The blood vein ring was like a boundless world. In this place, it was just a space without any objects. However, if the blood vein ring wanted, it could create different sceneries to achieve its purpose. The blood vein ring had subdued the corpse vanishing flame completely. No matter how much it struggled, the flame could never escape. After the ice-cold flame and the earth flame arrived, they released their unique life fluctuations, as if they were comforting the corpse vanishing flame. The corpse vanishing flame was still raging. Its life fluctuation was very fierce. It disdained the ice-cold flame and the earth flame. Warrior Lore. Yan's soul observed the situation inside the blood vein ring for a while. After he could confirm that the corpse vanishing flame couldn't escape, he retreated his soul. The 5 hazy gray silhouettes zoomed over from a far place, entering his sea of consciousness. The inner world 5 devils were the ones created by the negative energy. Unknowingly, they had a brutal and immense aura of the past, which gave him a strange feeling that they had been living for many years. The 5 devils had their auras increased significantly, and their strange soul fluctuations were stronger. Unfortunately, their wisdom hadn't changed much. In this aspect, the ice-cold flame and the earth flame had a better progress. Yan sensed them for a while. He was sure that the 5 devils had something changed about them. Otherwise, Their auras wouldn't become so old and unpredictable. He thought that the five devils had acquired some new powers. However, he couldn't find what the change was even after trying to analyze. Qingming's body had become hard coke. The corpse slaves around him had lost their vitality, falling on the ground one by one. Even the cold corpse qi on their bodies had dispersed. Shi Yin understood that the inner world five devils had taken the feeble souls of these newly awakened corpse slaves. Without the soul, their energy had to scatter. He vaguely felt that after each time the inner world five devils absorbed strange energies, they would have some changes. But it wasn't very clear. This time, the five devils had an ancient aura, as if they had collected the power from the antiquity time. This surprised him a lot. He only knew that the five devils were the copies of his soul, created by refining the negative emotions. They were connected to his soul, and his soul could control them. As the five devils got stronger, his host's soul would be benefited. However, the five devils getting strong enough to oppress his host wasn't something he wanted to see. Thus, he discreetly paid attention. Sensing for a while, he found that the five devils couldn't threaten him. Eventually, he calmed down. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Two silhouettes with thick corpse qi flew across the clear sky like lightning. Shi Yin released his soul consciousness while smiling and standing at his spot. Not long after that, Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea descended from the sky, standing steadily in front of him. Benefactor. After Corpse Sea and Corpse Mount arrived, they slightly bent their bodies, putting one hand on their forehead and the other hand on their chest. They greeted him with this unusual etiquette. Shi Yin was surprised. Looking at these two Corpse King, his eyes astounded. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea were wearing bright silver clothing and accessories. Their garments looked like they were made of bone dust as they were sparkling. Thick, gloomy corpse qi exuded from them. The phosphorescent light spots were too many, doing on their clothes like drops of oil. He focused on sensing for a while. His visage changed as he got more solemn. That was the corpse toxin, the intimidating corpse toxin. Just with a drop, the victim's body would be eroded and gradually turned into a corpse. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea looked indifferently as if they didn't have emotions. They stood upright naturally, but with a gloomy vibe. Their auras were strange. Low-realm warriors standing in front of them would have their souls shivering under their imposing manners. As Shi Yin had space power in his soul consciousness, he could sense the other's soul fluctuations faster and more precisely. He sensed them discreetly, and the surprise he had grew bigger. He almost screamed out. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea had a sea of consciousness in their heads with a strange host soul. However, their sea of consciousness wasn't similar to that of humans. The human sea of consciousness looked like a sea, but Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea had a sea of consciousness that looked like a gravestone. A black gravestone. Each of them had a black tombstone in their heads, covered with magical symbols. Each symbol was taking in a kind of energy from heaven and earth. There was a translucent spot in the middle of the black headstone, where lay Corpse Mount's and Corpse Sea's soul seal, which was a pale flame. Just like Shi Yan's host soul, it was their root of life. Black tombstone, pale flame host soul. They were the unique features of the high-grade living beings. Corpse Clan. A thought crossed his head. Shi Yin was frightened, as he seemed to get something. Something has changed in your heads. He wasn't so sure, so he tried to probe them. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea beamed a bizarre smile, which astounded Shi Yin. Yes, we had the second change when the sun, the moon, and the stars appeared together in the sky. At that moment, we felt something like an inheritance. It was like a shower on our souls. It was the inheritance power of an ancient clan. Although it wasn't complete, it still changed us, Corpse Mount explained. Inheritance? Shi Yin was surprised. He was disbelieving. Where did it come from? I don't know. It seems to come from the heaven and earth energy. I am unable to define it. Corpse Mount was hesitant. Later on, he continued, this is the inheritance of the Corpse Clan. It has some secrets and the cultivating techniques of the clan. Creating the life tombstone and the corpse soul are the foundation techniques that the Corpse Clan cultivates. Shi Yin was terrified. Our corpse clan's inheritance seemed to be hidden somewhere between heaven and earth. After the heaven and earth changed, it created the memory fluctuations that each member of the corpse clan could receive. The stronger the members of the corpse clan are, the more inheritance we can receive. At least, we can use that memory fluctuation to gain consciousness and become the clansman of the corpse clan officially. Corpse Mount told Shi Yin the secrets that discolored him. Shi Yin was frightened. Inheritance, the inheritance that descended from the sky, conveying the secrets and the power Upanishads of the corpse clan that could awaken the corpse slaves and make them the clansmen of the corpse clan. It could even help corpse kings like Corpse Mount and Corpse C cultivate the life tombstone. What kind of an inheritance was that? Where did it come from? Questions flew around Shi Yan's head as he was scared by the secrets Corpse Mount had told him. Besides the corpse, was there anything else as well? After all, how big were the effects the change of heaven and earth brought this time? Shi Yin suddenly felt insecure. He begrudgingly felt everything was beyond his expectations. Benefactor, we have a place that you may be interested in, Corpse C suddenly said. He didn't stammer anymore. An interesting place? Shi Yin arched his brows, secretly alert. You can come with us. That place is quite strange. Corpse C took the lead and flew towards the center of the corpse god sect. Benefactor, there's something that could help you, said Corpse Mount. Then he followed Corpse C. Shi Yin was suspicious. He hesitated for a while, then flew towards the general direction of the corpse god sect. Chapter 598. The Gold Giant. Chapter 598. The Gold Giant. The headquarters of the corpse god sect was situated in the Cold Wind Island, which had the cold yin qi and the thick corpse qi, pretty suitable to refine corpses. There was a narrow, long space slit in the southwest corner of the island. Light shot rapidly inside that crack as an old, decaying aura of the immemorial epoch exuded from it. Not far from the space slit were piles of giant white bones. Those bones looked as if they were made of white jade, crystal clear and as white as snow. Energy fluctuations rippled from them. Hundreds of the newly formed members of the corpse clan were surrounding those bones, taking in the energy from them. They really enjoyed it. Shi Yin glared, but he was jolted with fright inside his heart. The shortest bone was around 10 meters, and the longer ones were dozens of meters long. They looked like beautiful white jade. No one knew how long they had been there, but the energy still remained in the bones. This was unbelievable. The two of us have collected these bones from that place. Corpse Mount pointed at the space crack. There are so many of them inside. All are massive. It took us a long time to mobilize those bones. The energy in these bones is useful to us. We can absorb it directly. Shi Yin gave them a slight nod. Each of those white bones had beams and flows of severe yin aura. The corpse clan members could take it in and convert it into the corpse qi in their bodies. Shi Yin looked at the space crack. He pondered for a while and then asked, "Can we go there directly?" Corpse Mount and Corpse C nodded, then got into the crack right in front of Shi Yin. Shi Yin was amazed. He chuckled and then got in. The sky there was blood red. Many giant skeletons were scattered here and there. This space had many signs of furious battles. A heavy aura pressed down from the sky, as imposing as a mountain. Under this intimidating pressure, Shi Yin couldn't fly up, as if some mysterious force was tying him down. This was a strange space. Giant skeletons were everywhere. Most of them were disintegrated, with many ash-gray spots on them. There were no energy fluctuations coming from them. There were some snow-white bones, which still had feeble energy fluctuations. Walking in between the giant skeletons and looking at the dark red soil, which looked like dried bloodstains under his feet, Shi Yin was more astounded. This was an ancient battlefield. Most skeletons here were from demonic beasts. Shi Yin had walked for around 1,000 meters before he saw a beast skeleton that was more than 500 meters long. It looked like a small mountain. That skeleton wasn't decayed yet. Even though he hadn't approached it, a strange, solemn pressure had slapped his face, which suffocated him. This skeleton has strong energy. Unfortunately, we can't move it. It's too heavy. We have tried to cut it, but we couldn't break it. Corpse Mount smacked his tongue with a begrudging regret. Shi Yin was struck. This skeleton was 500 meters long and around 100 meters tall without flesh and blood. It only had the white bones, but it was intimidatingly giant. When it still had the flesh and everything else, Shi Yin wondered how imposing it used to be. It was definitely a demonic beast skeleton. From this shape, he could confirm this fact. He walked through the skeleton, moving forward. What level of beast it should be to have such a giant body like that? Level 9? Or level 10? Shi Yin was in a confused state of mind. He realized that the situation here was beyond his knowledge. All of a sudden, he stood dazedly at his spot. Looking at the neck of the skeleton, Shi Yin gawked and dropped his jaw, his face disbelieving. The neck of this giant skeleton was as smooth as a mirror. A dragon skull was placed around 10 meters in front of the neck part. It seemed this mountain-like, imposing dragon beast was beheaded by a sharp weapon. Shi Yin's eyes were constantly sparkling, and his breathing was getting heavy. He walked around the beast's neck to observe, only to become more surprised. Indeed, this giant dragon beast was beheaded within one strike. Someone had killed it instantly. Coming to this conclusion, he was terrified. He didn't know what kind of formidable battles had taken place here, or what kind of existence it was that could have such earth-shaking powers. God King? Shi Yin beamed a forced smile. While he was still astounded, the blood vein ring suddenly glowed. A 5-colored light snatched over the neck of that dragon beast. Shi Yin was shocked. He couldn't help but pull himself together and observe. He found a dried puddle on the dark red ground near that neck, as big as a door. It had a purple-red hue, a little bit viscous, with magical energy fluctuation. When the rainbow light of the blood vein ring shone on that puddle, a thought flashed in his head. Blood soul divine water. Broken demon crystal of a level 10 beast. The beast's soul and its blood had blended to create this water. It was one of the primary materials to fuse heaven flames. It was a clear thought, and Shi Yin immediately got it. He shivered, almost sitting down on the ground. Level 10 beast. Since he had come to this world, the most dangerous demonic beast he had encountered was just a level 8. A level 10 demonic beast was a tremendous living being that could be compared to a god king, the scariest existence he knew. As far as he had known, there was no level 10 beast existing in the Grace mainland. A level 10 beast was beheaded and died here in silence for so many years. At what level was the one who had killed this beast? Shi Yin suddenly felt a chill running down his soul. Looking at this strange space, his hair rose. If there was even one creature still alive, would he, Corpse Mount, and Corpse Sea leave this place alive? If that thing came out of this place and went to the Grace mainland, would it be a great calamity? While he was still making assumptions in fright, the blood vein ring shot out a beam of energy light, which covered the blood soul divine water and stashed it away. The Heaven Flame Divine refining technique required at least 1,000 gene of blood soul divine water. This puddle wasn't more than 10 gene. He still needed a lot to meet the refining requirement. If we continue to go further, there are more skeletons bigger than this one, Corpse muttered. Shi Yin was like he got a bad hit. He trembled, turning around and shouting in a hoarse voice. Bigger? Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea nodded, speaking in unison. Many. Shi Yin was completely scared. Long afterward, he took several deep breaths, pulling himself together. Next, he said with a grimaced expression, Go. Goddamn it. Even if I have to die, we have to go there. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea led the way. There were 5 more skeletons, which were more than 500 meters long. They looked like the small mountains that were situated there forever. One of them was a beast skeleton that was 1,000 meters long and more than 300 meters tall. Shi Yin gawked, dropping his jaw. Shi Yin found the blood soul divine water near each skeleton. The blood vein ring had collected around 300 gene of the blood soul divine water. This imposing scene had scared Shi Yin several times. Afterward, he went numb. He collected the blood soul divine water along the way, entering deeper into this area. All of a sudden, a big footprint appeared in his line of sight. That footprint was bigger than him. It wasn't a beast's, but a human footprint. This footprint sank 3 meters deep into the ground, which looked too exaggerating. Shi Yin walked over, accumulated energy, and punched the dark red ground fiercely. Bang! The red ground was as hard as iron. His punch just left a small scratch on the ground, and it couldn't make the ground concave. Shi Yin was moved. He immediately knew that the ground under his feet was really rigid. Now, he could imagine the owner of the footprint that sank 3 meters deep to the ground. Ahead. He's ahead of us. Corpse Mount softly reminded him with awe. Ahead? Shi Yin changed his face. He halted, his face solemn. What do you mean? You mean the owner of this footprint? Corpse Mount and Corpse C nodded. Shi Yin didn't answer. Light sparkled in his eyes. Long afterward, he asked, dead or alive? Dead, Corpse Mount and Corpse C answered in unison. Shi Yin exhaled in relief and then said imposingly, Go. We should go check it out. A dead man, no matter how tremendous he was when he was still alive, couldn't give more threats. Shi Yin had crossed some other giant skeletons and collected a small amount of blood soul divine water. He and Corpse Mount, Corpse C ultimately arrived at a fractured mountain. That mountain was several thousand meters high, but it was cut off. Its peak was as smooth as jade. Gold light sparkled, releasing waves of heavy aura. Gold light and heavy aura didn't come from this mountain, but from a gold giant sitting neatly on the mountain. Even if this giant were sitting, he was around 10 meters tall. He didn't have blood or flesh, but a golden skeleton. That sparkling gold light came from his bones. It was a complete skeleton. Each bone was as if made of gold jade, with gold energy rippling inside. There was no soul fluctuation coming from this golden giant. A fist-sized gold bead was placed in the golden skull, which was covered with mysterious ancient scriptures. Faint energy waves undulated from the scriptures on the bead. At first glance, that gold giant was covered in a gold halo, as though he was made of gold. A heavy and ancient aura diffused from him. Shi Yin stood at the mountain foot, facing up to look at the giant gold skeleton. He was frightened. The Giant Clan. Since he had known about the Giant Clan in the antiquity time, he had imagined how the people of the Giant Clan would look like. From this skeleton, he could picture what physique and power the Giant Clan's members had in that epoch. Among the 10 antiquity clans, the Giant Clan had the strongest physical build. This race had a supernatural innate power. From the day they were born, they would start to train their bodies. They could break a mountain with their bare hands. The Giant Clan had the smallest population among the 10 antiquity clans, but they were the strongest. This giant skeleton had been sitting here for so many years. His soul soon perished, but his energy had still remained in his bones. If he were still alive, how strong he would be was something Shi Yin didn't dare to imagine. Perhaps he had killed the formidable beasts in this space. A thought crossed his head. Shi Yin was struck as he was panicked. The blood soul divine water was condensed from blood and soul of level 10 beasts after 10,000 years of settlement. Being able to kill the level 10 beasts, he should be a God King Realm expert. Perhaps he was at the second or third sky of God King Realm. This existence existed only in legends, which people had told each other through generations. They had never appeared in the Grace mainland. Looking at that sparkling gold skeleton and the strange gold bead, he knew he had found a treasure, but he was irritated. He didn't know how to take it. Chapter 599. Wash the Soul. Chapter 599. Wash the Soul. Corpse Mount and Corpse C stood next to him, looking at the gold giant in silence. They had just received the Corpse Clan's inheritance not long ago. Their knowledge of the antiquity time wasn't as much as Shi Yin. They didn't know of the importance behind this all, so they couldn't give him a useful reference. Shi Yin scratched his head agitatedly. He forced a smile, looking at the gold giant in the peak and the mysterious gold bead, while his brain was working hard to find a method to take the bead. Suddenly, he looked at the blood vein ring on his finger, his eyes bright. The blood vein ring could convert the function of the blood soul divine water into waves of memory and impart it to him. Perhaps it could do the same to give him the related description of that gold giant and his bead. With that thought, He quietly rose his arm, pointing the blood vein ring to the gold skeleton. He gathered his soul and sent it to the ring. The blood vein ring stayed quiet for a while. Suddenly, it shot out the rainbow light one more time, covering the gold skeleton and the bead. Golden skeleton, a God King realm member of the giant clan. Golden soul fluid, a rare treasure that can wash the host's soul and purify it. It can increase sensibility. It was another wave of memory imprinted in his head to describe the origin and the features of the golden giant and the golden soul fluid. The so-called golden skeleton was the skeleton of the giant clan's members who had reached the God King realm. The bones of their entire body changed into gold color, which came with the greatest prestige power. The golden skeleton was the unique feature of the giant clan's clansmen at God King realm. Experts at this realm, even if they were killed and their flesh was decomposed, their golden skeleton would not be decayed with time. After 10,000 years, it still kept the golden hue with strange energy waves. The golden soul fluid was an essence feature that the soul of the experts of the giant clan at this realm condensed after they were killed. The giant clan in the antiquity time was special. This clan always held up justice. They were all generous and frank. No member of the giant clan had any wild schemes. They were all kind people, born to be good persons. That's why God favored this race. The members of the giant clan could perceive the power of nature easier than the other races. It was a little bit strange here. This clan had no members with a cunning heart. They were all honest. But when it came to the point they needed wisdom the most, the time of comprehending the Upanishad power, they had God's favor with this great superiority. In the antiquity time, the giant clan had just this reward from the high heaven for upholding justice. When the God King realm experts of the giant clan perished, their soul would vanish into earth and heaven. However, their superiority in learning the power Upanishads could be condensed into a liquid form to be preserved. It was the golden soul fluid. This golden soul fluid was used to purify the host soul. It could help a creature have the magical advantage of comprehending heaven and earth powers of the giant clan, which increased the speed of comprehending the meanings of the power. Even if it were in the antiquity time, the golden soul fluid was the treasure that everybody dreamed of, the thing that they could only meet by chance, the precious treasure of this world. After the memory of the golden skeleton and the golden soul fluid had moved for a while in Shi Yan's head, he got a deep understanding of the giant clan's features. His eyes were bright, looking at the golden skeleton on the mountain peak. His breathing became heavy. Hesitating for a while, he sat down cross-legged. He simply advised corpse mount and corpse C, then tried to use the technique he had just received to collect the golden soul fluid. The golden soul fluid was inside the golden bead, and he couldn't touch it directly with his hand or any treasure, or else it would vanish into thin air, returning to the heaven and earth. He could only let his host soul enter the golden bead and wash it there to receive the special ability of the giant clan. Before Shi Yan carried out this operation, he was a little bit hesitant. He then summoned the ghost hunter, the war devil, the holy spirit god, and the king of demonic insects, sending his thought to them before releasing his host soul. The host soul left his sea of consciousness. A phantom of a tiny man slowly flew towards the golden soul fluid on the mountain. The heavy pressure exuding from the golden skeleton seemed not to affect the host soul much. Shi Yan flew up, sensing the immense ancient aura. Shortly, he got to the skull of that golden skeleton. His host soul hovered for a while, then entered the golden bead. A wonderful feeling flooded his soul. His soul felt like it was sublimated. Layers of mist covered him. The golden soul fluid had washed him, and his host soul became crystal clear magically. His sensitivity towards the heaven and earth power became more accurate. His understanding of the power Upanishads seemed to reach the most profound level of the real nature of his powers. The host soul stayed inside the golden bead, and the golden soul fluid soaked it and purified it. Shortly, his host soul received the magical comprehending ability. However, whether it was his space power or the martial techniques, he needed a special situation to trigger them, which would give him an opportunity for a new time of comprehension. At this moment, the golden soul fluid had given him a magical comprehending ability, but he didn't have a chance to try it. Shi Yin felt very irritated. The magical ability the golden soul fluid had given him had a limit. If it continued this way, he would be wasting his time and the effect of the golden soul fluid. The most important thing was that once the host soul got in there, unless the golden soul fluid was consumed completely, it couldn't get out easily. He had to find something to comprehend. All of a sudden, he remembered the blacksmith's secret of success. In the wonderful space inside the blacksmith's secret of success, there were many complex and profound formations, which hid the deep meanings of refining and forging weapons. After he had spent a long time there, he could perceive only the teleportation formation. Except for that, he didn't dare to try the other great refining treasure formations. However, the situation he was in now was unique. If he couldn't find something to comprehend, he would waste the golden soul fluid for nothing. He didn't hesitate at all. He condensed a flow of soul consciousness, directly entering the blacksmith's secrets of success. It was inexplicably magical. The ancient formations he found so mysterious and complicated before suddenly became explicit. Spending a little time in an exquisite formation, he could get the basic features, structure, and the principles of the energy movement in that formation. Abruptly, he found that the mysterious formations in the blacksmith's secrets of success were the application of special power Upanishads. The refining process was to use the materials to carve the nature of a kind of force in earth and heaven and to perform the original power of that force. He was overjoyed. His soul shivered as if he had found a treasure. He focused wholeheartedly, as though each formation was a good dish for his soul which he was enjoying. There were dozens of formations in the blacksmith's secrets of success. Each formation could be carved on a secret treasure to enhance its power. Some formations could gather heaven and earth's spiritual chi, while the others could use wind, lightning, or thunder to attack. There were also formations that could create illusions which people couldn't escape. Besides countless formations, there were hundreds of forging methods with thousands of unique written techniques. Each technique could enhance the formation or be used during the refining process to maximize the treasure's ability. Secret treasures were classified into 5 grades, including mortal, mystery, spirit, sacred, and divine. Each grade had other different 7 ranks. The blacksmith's secret of success didn't have the techniques to refine mortal, mystery, and spirit grades treasures. It just had a simple description of these basic techniques. The techniques that were focused were to refine and forge sacred grade and divine grade secret treasures. It explained clearly how to collect souls and how to add admixture to the treasures. It even had the technique to cultivate spirit and soul. The ranks of sacred grade and divine grade were introduced pretty clear. It had a complete description of the difference between different ranks and grades of secret treasures, and even the simple tricks to differentiate the sacred grade treasures and the divine grade treasures. This book contained dozens of formations, hundreds of forging and refining methods, more than 10,000 written techniques, grades of secret treasures, different heating levels of flame used, small details in refining treasures, and what to pay attention to during a refining and forging process, etc. All the knowledge which was related to a whole life of cultivation of a blacksmith was presented in this Blacksmith's Secrets of Success. At this moment, Shi Yin finally understood that the old book of Blacksmith's Secrets of Success he had taken from a foreign land was the whole life essence of a divine-grade blacksmith. He didn't know how time flew when he was in the book. He had used the golden soul fluid to sink into the ocean of knowledge and comprehended the Upanishads of refining. He had made the refining methods into the deep marks in his head. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The blacksmith's secrets of success turned into smoke and dispersed, leaving no trace. After a long while, Shi Yan's host soul flew out of the golden bead, returning to his body. He was happy. Looking at the blacksmith's secrets of success vanish, he didn't feel painful or sorrowful. He had a good grasp of the refining Upanishads of the blacksmith's secrets of success. Of course, he understood that this book was a special treasure. It had demonstrated everything as a real space, which joined all sorts of formations. When someone had experienced every formation from the beginning to the end, the blacksmith's secrets of success would disappear. The blacksmith's secrets of success was the inheritance of a divine-grade blacksmith who had recorded his whole life experience of refining and forging secret treasures. When someone had the inheritance, the blacksmith's secrets of success didn't need to exist anymore. The golden bead inside the skull of the golden skeleton had turned into a dark brown hue, and the golden soul fluid was drained. Although Shi Yin had never forged a weapon, thanks to the blacksmith's secrets of success, he was now a profound blacksmith, even more excellent than Ku Da's team in the Precious Tool Valley. The inheritance that he got was a true textbook from a divine-grade blacksmith. If he could gather enough materials, he could even refine divine weapons. His vision had been widened after this experience. Looking at the beast skeletons scattered everywhere in this space, his breathing became short and heavy, while his eyes brightened. There were treasures everywhere. Chapter 600, Golden Marrow. Chapter 600, Golden Marrow. Scattered everywhere in this strange place were skeletons of formidable beasts. Each snow-white bone contained fluctuations of energy. Those bones could become the main material of secret treasures. He just needed to find some auxiliary materials, and he could refine the treasures. Shi Yan's eyes brightened as he was looking at so many giant beast skeletons from afar. Smile filled his face. But the thing that made him more joyful was the golden marrow inside the golden skeleton of the giant. The golden marrow of the golden skeleton was the best potion to treat the body. Refining the golden marrow and then soaked in that liquid, a warrior could have the tenacious skeleton of the golden giant, which was as hard as iron or rock. The reason why the golden skeleton had the golden hue was because of the golden marrow. However, it was mysteriously difficult to refine the golden marrow, and it required a blazing flame at the same time. Shi Yin had the earth flame, which was pretty suitable to refine the golden marrow from the bones. He determined the method, then notified the war devil and the ghost hunter. He asked Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea to stay while he was going to that broken mountain alone. The soul of the golden skeleton on the mountain had scattered, but the pressure it released was still heavy. He had to resist that pressure continually along the way to the mountain peak. When he had reached the foot of the skeleton, he realized he was so small. Compared to this giant man sitting neatly there, he was just like a reptile. Shi Yin squinted to observe. He hauled out the sky destroyer and dug a ditch around the golden skeleton. The rock of this mountain was hard. When his divine sword was working on it, clinks echoed. Shortly, a round ditch was formed with his effort under the feet of the golden skeleton. Closing his eyes and sensing the energy fluctuations inside the golden skeleton, Shi Yin was cheered up, his face joyful. Shi Yin summoned the earth flame and pointed at the golden skeleton, sending it his thought. Cover him. Burn him slowly to stimulate the golden marrow in his bones, then guide it to this ditch. Okay, the earth flame replied. Next, it turned into many scarlet scorching flames like clouds tinged by the setting sun, enveloping that giant golden skeleton. To the living beings like the earth flame, big volume didn't mean strong power. Their flame forms could resize according to the situation, but their power remained unchanged. The earth flame's pure core power was a flame that was as big as a fist. However, if it wanted to release a furious fire, it could always expand its pure flame to a bigger and hotter form. The scarlet flames looked like rolling lava. It had covered the entire golden skeleton with an intense heating aura. Shi Yin put on a serious expression as he was gathering the power in his body. He was making different magical hand seals, which then turned into streaks of light, hitting on the golden skeleton. To extract the golden marrow, besides the heaven flame, he needed to use a special method to soften the golden bones. If he hadn't had the wisdom of that divine-grade blacksmith, he would never have reached this step. However, it was a piece of cake to him at this moment. Thousands of strange symbols and scriptures turned into differently patterned halos, flying towards the golden skeleton. After 3 days, a gold mist started to exude from the golden skeleton. Gold fluid began to move inside the bones and seep through the cracks, pouring into the ditch Shi Yin had dug beforehand. The first drop of bright gold liquid fell into the ditch, carrying strange, magical energy fluctuations with it. The strange gold raindrop fell, and the ditch seemed like it was drilled through, revealing a small bored hole. Yan's eyes brightened, and the smile on his face widened. He put forth his efforts to strike more techniques. A sole drop of the golden marrow could pierce through such rigid ground. Yan immediately knew that the power of the golden marrow in this giant's golden skeleton was plenty. The earth flame was constantly increasing its heating flame. With his assistance, it was burning the golden skeleton. Drops of golden marrow seeped through the bone cracks unceasingly, falling into the ditch. Not long afterward, a faint gold stream appeared in that ditch. At the same time, due to losing the golden marrow, the radiant golden bones gradually turned white-gray with dark spots. They seemed to be decaying quickly. The energy of the golden marrow had maintained the glorious golden hue of the skeleton. Without the golden marrow, the skeleton of a member of the giant clan would reveal its original shape. Yan watched the golden marrow drops falling into the ditch with bright eyes, his heart dancing with joy. Eventually, when all the golden marrow was refined from the skeleton of a member of the giant clan, the skeleton turned into a giant white-gray skeleton. The heavy pressure was gone. The skeleton sat there with a decayed posture, as if it was about to collapse at any minute. Yan watched it for a while. He frowned, then urged his energy to create a massive hand, lifting the white-gray skeleton and taking it to the mountain foot. After it lost the golden marrow, the skeleton became lighter, so it didn't take much of his energy. He used his mind to control the divine sword to dig a big grave near the mountain. He put this rusty skeleton into the tomb. Finally, this man could rest in peace. Since he had taken the golden soul fluid and the golden marrow from this skeleton, he cherished and was thankful for that. That's why he buried it. After Yan had arranged the grave properly, he smiled, walking into that ditch which was filled with golden marrow. He felt like he had fallen into a lava pond. The scorching gold energy pierced his skin like a sharp weapon. Yan wasn't surprised. He focused and relaxed his spirit. His pores opened to absorb the golden marrow into his body. The golden marrow entered his pores, murmuring in his bones. The blazing fluid was burning his bones like a fiery fire, causing him an extreme pain. He had to get through this phase. If he wanted to absorb the golden marrow into his entire body, he had to endure this pain. Yan understood that, so he had just clenched his teeth and endured. He was taking in more golden marrow through his pores, as the amount of the liquid in the ditch reduced. Just like when he had entered this continent, he had determinedly walked into the blood pond, using the blood pond to transform. A giant gold pupa enveloped him shortly. Now, he looked like a giant gold beetle which was about to eclose. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea looked up from the mountain foot. Later on, the two new members of the Corpse clan finally recognized something. They hurried to get to the mountain peak and sank into that gold ditch. At this moment, the amount of the golden marrow left wasn't much. They couldn't do anything more than laying down and rolling to get the golden marrow all over their bodies, enjoying it a lot. Chapter 601. Refining Secret Treasures. Chapter 601. Refining Secret Treasures. __. The color of the thick golden shell on Yan's body faded away, and its light also dimmed out. Strange energy fluctuations rippled fiercely from the body covered in the golden shell. From time to time, they became more turbulent. Boom! The hard gold shell fragmented into small pieces, just like a torn sheet of fabric. It revealed Yan, with the gold color body inside as if he were wearing glittering gold clothes, which looked both beautiful and dazzling. While squinting, Yan was really joyful. Gradually, he laughed out loud. He used the soul consciousness to check his body. His bones were now golden, which were refined by the golden marrow, exactly the same as the golden skeleton. Not only that, the golden marrow had flooded his flesh and vessels, turning into a strange gold energy that blended into his 5 main internal organs and the great 8 meridians to nurture his body. The reason why his body had the golden hue was because of the petrification martial spirit. After the marrow washing process, Yan's petrification martial spirit had evolved one more time. Now it was gold and not red anymore. In the Shur family, the petrification martial spirit had 4 levels. In each level, the skin color would be different: ash gray, dark brown, yellowish green, and purple red. Before that, when his martial spirit had changed, he had got the purple-red hue, which was considered entering the peak of the Sure family's petrification martial spirit. He thought that it was the final form, and his body wouldn't change furthermore. However, he recognized that he was wrong, as his petrification martial spirit had entered another level after the golden marrow washing and nurturing process. Now, his body was gold. Closing his eyes, Sure Yin felt the changes of his body in silence. He didn't urge his thought, just relaxed his mind. The color of his body faded, returning to the original skin color. However, when his nerves got tense, or his fighting will was triggered, his body, including blood and flesh, would turn gold. Each muscle of his would be filled with an immense life power. Each meridian would become strangely tenacious, which would accelerate the moving speed of essence chi. The muscles of his entire body would release a torrential gold energy, which was sharply irreversible. The golden body that was washed and refined by the golden marrow obviously had a part of the golden giant's energy. Sure Yin laughed contentedly as he was overjoyed. Corpse Mount and Corpse C slowly got up from the ditch. Their whole bodies glistered with a golden hue. They had collected all the left golden marrow in the ditch. Now, they were using the secret techniques of the Corpse Clan to rebuild their bones. Members of the Corpse Clan understood how to use the 5 elements powers well. After Corpse Mount and Corpse C had taken the golden marrow of the golden giant, their physical strength had increased tremendously. Corpse Mount and Corpse C were sparkling with a golden hue. At the same time, their eyes showed an imposing and solemn divine aura. This surprised Sure Yin a lot. They were the clansmen of the Corpse Clan, but they had the aura that only the golden giant had after taking in the golden marrow. It made them truly extraordinary. Boundless prospects. Sure Yin was shocked discreetly, giving them a compliment. He knew the two of them had received the Corpse Clan's inheritance. In the future, their world would be much wider. His strange living beings, including the War Devil, the Ghost Hunter, the King of Demonic Insects, and the devouring gold silkworm, all disappeared except for the War Devil. While frowning, Sure Yin checked the mountain. He felt a greater surprise. Not long after that, his eyes showed his joy. The Ghost Hunter, the King of Demonic Insects, and the devouring gold silkworm were strange demonic beasts. The Holy Spirit God wasn't a beast, but it had a body. To these strange creatures, the beast skeletons in this space were the best nutrients. When demonic beasts reached level 9, even if it had died for 10,000 years and its body was all decayed, its energy still remained in the bones. Although it was feeble, this energy was scattering from time to time. If it were too long ago, this sort of energy would drain up. However, the time of death of these skeletons in this space wasn't too long. Their bones still kept some energy. Furthermore, there were level 10 beasts here. At this level, 10,000 years wasn't enough to disperse the energy in the bones. Corpse Mount and Corpse C had taken the bones here to absorb the energy from them. The Ghost Hunter, King of Demonic Insects, devouring gold silkworm, and the Holy Spirit God were doing the same. The 4 strange creatures scattered around. They found a giant bee skeleton each and took in the energy using different methods. The white jade, translucent bones were turning gray, as the energy inside was taken. After they had drained the energy out, those bones would turn into gray ashes immediately. It seemed these 4 had started a long time ago. From the mountain, he could see 4 skeletons, which were hundreds of meters tall, about to be depleted. At this speed, not long after that, those skeletons would become scraps, and they would have nothing else of value. After watching for a while, Sure Yin contemplated and then plunged away from the mountain peak. He flew towards the dragon-shaped beast skeleton, the one that the 4 strange living beings hadn't laid their eyes on. This skeleton was completely preserved. It was still as beautiful as a masterpiece of white jade, shining with silver rays. Swoosh! The earth flame shot out from his palm, moving according to his thought. It fiercely tangled with the giant skeleton. The storage ring flashed as auxiliary materials flew out. Enhanced with different techniques, They were poured into the skeleton and melted together with the bones under the heat of the earth flame. Bone refining technique was a popular refining treasure method. It used the good quality bones to be the main material. This technique didn't change the structure of the primary material, but purified it with the fiery flame. Then, the auxiliary materials were used to enhance the toughness and hardness of the bones, which directly turned the bones into a secret treasure. Bone refining technique wouldn't change the original shape of the main material. The blacksmith only needed to carve the formation to enhance the firmness and create a yin and yang generating formation to maintain and generate the energy of the bones. This step completed the treasure. This refining method wasn't complicated, but it had a high requirement of the main materials. If the key material wasn't of good quality, even if the blacksmith added more auxiliary substances, he couldn't carve the formation. That dragon skeleton was undoubtedly that of a level 10 beast. After so many years, it was still white as jade, even though the energy was worn out. This showed that the beast must have been a formidable one when it was still alive. The skeleton of a level 10 beast was the absolutely perfect main material. With the bone refining technique as the basis, Shi Yin was making many complex and ever-changing hand seals. Written charms were portrayed around that skeleton. Crack, crack, crack. Under the heat of the earth flame, the skeleton fractured gradually. Contaminants were separated. The skeleton started to shrink. The energy inside the bones started to flow out from the 3 thigh bones, which were around hundreds of meters long. Gathering and condensing the energy of the bones to the essence was the feature of the bone refining technique. He had condensed the energy of the 700 meters tall dragon skeleton using the earth flame and the auxiliary materials into 3 giant thigh bones. After losing the energy, under the heat of the earth flame, the skeleton was burned into ashes, scattering away. Shi Yin squinted as a light flashed in his eyes. His soul consciousness moved like a saber, carving the formation on the 3 massive thigh bones. His hands were moving, forming numerous hand seals. Long afterward, the hundreds-meter-tall thigh bones were shrunk to 3 meters. They looked like 3 spears with many complicated and mysterious scriptures covering the jade-like bone, which made the spears more exquisite, splendid, and pretty sharp. He could see the delicate energy fibers perfectly moving inside the 3 long spears, following the formations carved on them. Shi Yin suddenly sat down neatly. His finger was placed on his glabella. The host soul flew out, entering the spears directly to mark his soul seal into the 3 spears. This helped him manipulate the spears as he pleased. The 3 bones from the level 10 beast were as sharp as lightning strikes. When his mind flickered, they flew and drew sharp, cold curves in the air, which could frighten people easily. Unfortunately, the beast's soul had long scattered. He couldn't take the soul to add into these bone thorns to give them intelligence. Without intelligence, the bone thorn couldn't become a divine-grade treasure. At rank 3, it was good enough. 3 flows of his soul consciousness poured into the bone thorns as Shi Yin urged his soul consciousness with space power. The bone thorns disappeared instantly. After 15 minutes, they could reappear 1,000 miles away, as if they could teleport in just a blink. Shi Yin cracked a smile and nodded silently. "Come back," he shouted. The 3 bones tore the space as rapidly as they appeared abruptly at the time he stopped thinking. His finger pointed at the void, and the 3 bones turned into 3 white beams of light, disappearing into his storage ring. They became the first secret treasures that he had ever made, and they were sacred grade treasures. At this moment, he got to know that warriors in antiquity time all knew how to refine and forge weapons. God Realm warriors could even use their host soul as the mediator to refine the divine grade weapon of their lives. The life weapon and its master were interlinked mentally, and its power would be tremendous. If the life weapon were damaged, the master would be wounded the same. However, the life weapon brought up a great advantage. Together with the master's increasing realm, it could also improve its quality and power. During that epoch, the life weapon was the most precious asset of a warrior, even more important than his wife. The 3 bone thorns that he had created using the bone refining technique weren't divine weapons, and they couldn't be his life divine weapons. Also, Their power didn't reach that level, and they wouldn't bind with him either. He put the 3 bone thorns away and took another round around this space. However, he couldn't find more suitable materials. Energy in the skeletons of some level 7 or level 8 demonic beasts was almost drained off. They didn't have a high value to him. The ghost hunter, king of demonic insects, the devouring gold silkworm, and the Holy Spirit God had occupied the valuable skeletons, absorbing the energy with joy. While he was waiting begrudgingly, Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea descended from the broken mountain. The two of them said before they had even reached near him, "Somebody is breaking into our territory." Chapter 602. Ghost Hunter Breaks Through. Chapter 602. Ghost Hunter Breaks Through. Breaking in your territory? Out there? Shi Yin was surprised. He knew that Corpse Mount and Corpse could use their souls to contact the members of the Corpse clan out there and report the situation quickly. Anyway, at this time, the forces in the Endless Sea were all well-behaved, and Qing Ming was dead. Logically, there shouldn't be anyone who dared to provoke the Cold Wind Island. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea nodded, as a malicious light sparkled in their deep green eyes. Obviously, they were enraged. The essence of the golden marrow had absorbed into their bones, which made these two members of the Corpse clan extremely robust and tenacious. Perhaps, when they joined hands, even a third sky of spirit realm warrior couldn't defeat them. We should check it out, Shi Yin pondered. At first, he sent his thought to the ghost hunter, the devouring gold silkworm, and king of demonic insects to ask them to stay here and absorb more energy from the skeletons. Then, he left with the war devil. The sharp wind howled through the Cold Wind Island. Corpses piled up like mountain ranges. Many clansmen of the Corpse clan, who obviously had wisdom, had the emotional light that only high-grade races could have in their eyes. 2 members of the Corpse clan wearing ash-gray armor came out from the crowd. They came and greeted Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea with great respect. Then, they used their own language to report Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea. The Chow family, the ever-pale face of Corpse Mount, was surprised for a while. He looked at the southwest direction of the Cold Wind Island. "Let's go there and check." Shi Yin didn't have any opinion, and he was suspicious too. He had no clue why members of the Chow family came here. When Shi Yin, Corpse Mount, and Corpse Sea stood firmly on a burial area in the southwest of the Cold Wind Island, they had their faces changed as their fright grew bigger in their hearts. Chao Qiu Dao, Chao Zhilan, Queen of Heaven Fan Xiang Yun, Man Gu. Many outstanding warriors of the Tuda Sea appeared together at this burial area. However, their distressed appearances made Shi Yin curious. Even Chao Qiu Dao looked a bit miserable, as if he had fought with a big enemy. Man Gu and Fan Xiang Yun had a glum expression. There was no bright light in their eyes, and they looked miserable. Shi Yin didn't know what they had suffered. After they saw Shi Yin, they were even more shocked than him. All of them screamed in awe. Chao Zhilan's beautiful eyes brightened, but then dimmed out as if she had remembered something, her face longing. Chao Qiu Dao was frank. He took a deep breath, frowned, then said solemnly, "We just passed by, and we wanted to notify you that you should leave. Currently, the Endless Sea." "What did you say?" Shi Yin shuddered. He knew something earth-shaken had happened. What happened? Dark Clan's hotshots from the 7-layered Underworld and the Demon area have invaded the Endless Sea again. Besides your Kiara Sea, human forces in the other seas have been invaded. Chao Qiu Dao was bitter. His complexion was lonely and grim. He shook his head and then sighed. Shi Yin discolored as he shouted, "How could it be? You've been here for more than 1 year. Of course, you didn't know the situation out there." Chao Qiu Dao was quite sad. 1 year ago, you killed Qing Ming. Then, you entered the Cold Wind Island. During 1 year, storms have raged over the Endless Sea again. The Dark Clan and the Demon Clan have invaded us one more time. They are stronger than the previous time. In the Endless Sea, no one can resist them. No one can resist them? Even you? Shi Yin was frightened. Whether they are the Dark Clan or the Demon Clan, they all have true God Realm experts. You say if I can deal with them or not. Chao Qiu Dao grimaced. The Tuda Sea's over. The Yin-Yang Fairyland and the desolate barbarian school are almost eradicated. Except for us here, the members of the Chow family have all perished. I basically don't have the power to overturn this. Chao Zilan's pretty face was covered with tears. She trembled gently as she was utterly heartbroken. The Queen of Heaven Fan Xiang Yun, who was always charming, was now paled with grief. She clenched her teeth as her eyes were filled with a sinister light. Mangu's expression was wild and brutal, as though he was an imprisoned beast who wanted to bite everybody. His eyes were congested. Shi Yin was startled. He didn't realize that he had spent over 1 year in that strange space with the beast skeletons. The Endless Sea had such a big change, which was beyond his estimation. It was his luck that he had completed the teleport connecting the Yang family and the Radiant God cult. This made him relax his tense nerves a little bit. He knew that with the teleportation formation, when the Yang family sensed the situation wasn't going well, they would mobilize the core generation to the Radiant God cult in the Divine Great Land. The Radiant God cult had Yun Hao, a true God Realm warrior, to guard the place. The 7 old factions in the Divine Great Land all had such intimidating existences. They even had the divine weapons. When these strong forces joined hands, the Divine Great Land shouldn't meet unexpected things shortly. As long as the Yang family was safe, he didn't need to be worried much. I haven't been out for 1 year, so I'm not clear about the whole picture of the Endless Sea. Precursor Chao, could you please explain in detail? He didn't have a good feeling towards Chao Chiu Dao. This old man was sinister, and the members of the Chao family had aimed at him many times. Chao Zilan's heart was as menacing as a viper. He had received a lot of bitter fruits from them. Today, seeing their misfortune, Shi Yin felt a little bit pleased. All right, Chao Chiu Dao didn't hesitate and frankly told him what had happened during this year in detail. Due to the great change in the world, the heaven gates connected the 7-layered underworld and the 4th demon area were broken. People from the 3 areas could enter the other area through the space channel. When it first happened, warriors of the Endless Sea thought it was a lucky chance. They had organized many troops to get into the 2 other worlds to collect cultivating materials. However, they knew they were wrong shortly. They found that the 4th demon area had Demon Clan's Hotshot, who was stronger than the spirit realm. They discovered that Abi, Dark Sky, and Hades, the 3 great Yama kings, had all entered the true God realm. When their news reached the Endless Sea, all forces there were startled. However, the other didn't wait for them to find a countermeasure. Hotshots of the Dark Clan led by Abi, Dark Sky, and Hades descended on the Endless Sea for the 2nd time. Abi, Hades, and Dark Sky, the 3 Yama kings had reached the true God realm. In the Endless Sea, no one could resist them. Each of the 3 great Yama kings was in charge of one sea. They carried out invasion the Tuda Sea, the Yuan Luo Sea, and the Dark Water Territory. People in these 3 sea areas had fallen into misery. Human warriors were almost uprooted. At the same time, experts of the Demon Clan had also entered the Kiara Sea and the Vault of Heaven Sea. The Yang family had soon prepared. They sent their core disciples away. The Yang family didn't suffer a significant loss. Tang Yuan Nan of the 3 Gods sect had received the request from Yang Tian Emperor, so he had moved his disciples to the Radiant God cult before. All had escaped this calamity. However, because the Martial Spirit Palace and the Penglai Holy Land in the Vault of Heaven Sea didn't have the teleport formation to leave, they no longer existed. Yang Etian, the master of the Spirit Martial, who was at the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm, was killed by a true God Realm expert of the Demon Clan. The Penglai Holy Land was eradicated. It was just 1 year, but the human forces around the Endless Sea were all crushed, just like people breaking dried branches. Besides the Yang family and the 3 Gods sect, almost all forces were destroyed. Chao Chiu Dao's force was at the end of the escape road. Since they knew the Corpse God sect had a special space slit, they ran to this place to find shelter in that space slit. They hoped to escape the pursuit of Yama King Hades, who was in charge of the Tuda Sea. It has not been easy for you to survive until now, Shi Yin mused for a while. He smiled, but his eyes didn't smile. Too bad, your fortune isn't good enough. Why do you say that? Chao Chiu Dao was trembling, but he was still calm. The area that space slit leads to isn't big enough. Moreover, it's a dead area. You can't go there. Shi Yin laughed evilly. In other words, if you get there, you will be like a fish in the tank. You will never have the second chance to run away. At this point, those human experts all felt disappointed. They sighed as they thought that their lives had come to an end. We still want to go there and check. Cao Dao was persistent. Shi Yin smiled and shook his head. I'm sorry. This place doesn't belong to you guys. You should return to where you came from. Cao Dao was enraged. Shi Yin, I don't want to mess with you. We want to live. Don't force me. Cao Dao, honestly, you don't have the power that I have to be afraid of. Shi Yin didn't take notice of Cao Dao's threat. He smiled faintly, calling the ghost hunter, the devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects, and the Holy Spirit God. While waiting for them, he said neither slowly nor fast. If you want to die, actually, you don't need to wait for Yama King Hades. I can help you with it. Cao Dao turned his head. With only one glance, his face turned the color of the soil. Roar! A raging roar soared up into the sky from the ghost hunter. Its murderous, ruthless aura had triggered the energy of earth and heaven. Clusters of cloud that were filled with a murderous aura gathered above the cold wind island, covering the light from the sun, moon, and stars. It created a tremendous pressure on everybody. Low-realm warriors like Cao Zilan paled. They were shivering as a helpless feeling rose from deep inside their souls. Even Cao Dao was frightened, his eyes dull. Shi Yin was amazed, too. He looked at the ghost hunter and found that this monster had a halo that looked like silvery liquid lingering on its body. On its fierce face, an incomparably evil red pair of eyes sparkled with brutal, murderous intents. The aura of the ghost hunter was like a range of mountains that people couldn't reach, giving people an inexplicable subduing feeling that could even oppress the souls. Level 9 Beast. At first glance, Shi Yin knew that the ghost hunter had broken through to a brand new realm. Master, I'm Ghost Hunter. Do you need me to kill all of them? The ghost hunter sauntered towards him. Its ferocious face slowly changed, while the thorns had retreated into its body. He still strolled towards Shi Yin. However, before he'd reached him, he had turned into a young man with a garnet pair of eyes. His bearing was strange and evil. The physique of this young man was sharp and truncate. His delicate, handsome face could dazzle many women. Although he had attractive features outlined by silver clothes, he still had a faint scent of blood. Shi Yin was stunned like a wooden rooster. Chapter 603, The Race Catastrophe. Chapter 603, The Race Catastrophe. Do you want me to kill all of them? The ghost hunter talked to him softly, without any emotions. He made it look like killing Cao Dao's group wasn't harder than smashing an ant. His face was like he didn't put them into his eyes. However, Cao Dao, Cao Zilan, and Queen of Heaven Fan Xiangyun felt as if they had fallen into an ice chamber. Even their souls felt chilled. The ghost hunter had reached level 9. At this level, the beast was as strong as a human true god realm expert. Only with their physical strength, they could move the mountain or level the sea. Not only they had the wisdom, but also the innate supernatural powers, which made them more dangerous than a new true god realm warrior. The good-looking face of the ghost hunter exposed his cold and brutal aura. Looking his red blood eyes, people knew right away he wasn't a good person. The ghost hunter had just broken through a new realm, so he really wanted to try his new abilities. He wanted to use Cao Dao to test his new strength. Shi Yin squinted as he cracked a forced smile. I didn't think that you could break through that fast. You're such an alien. The ghost hunter's level-up speed was much faster than his. Shi Yin still remembered the first time he saw the ghost hunter. At that time, this beast was just a level 6 beast. It had been just a few years, and the ghost hunter had entered level 9, a high rank of demonic beasts. The power of this level wouldn't be less than his. Shi Yan's smile bloomed as he was giving the beast compliments in his heart. He squinted and looked at Cao Dao's group. Under his scrutinizing look, Cao Dao, Fan Xiangyun, and the others kept their mouths shut. They had reached the spirit realm, but they were begrudging at this moment, as they regretted turning their back on Shi Yin that year. The one who had the biggest regret was Chao Zhilan. That year, she had favored Shi Yan's potential a lot, so she did want to create a good relationship with him. When his martial spirit got mutated and he was hurt by Qi Yin, she thought that Shi Yan's future had ended from here. That's why she had changed her attitude. If she could be more persistent, she would have found that Shi Yan's potential wasn't something she could predict. Unfortunately, one wrong move would make for a lifetime of regret. She was always confident that she was wise with eyes like the torch, but her deeds planned on Shi Yin had affected the Chao family. If I had endured, and I still stood next to him, perhaps the Chao family would have stepped in the divine great land now. Chao Zhilan was sad, tears lingering in her eyes. Do you still want to provoke me? Shi Yin curled his lips, smiling quietly. He waved his hand nonchalantly. I don't want to do anything with you guys. You should return to where you come from. With the power and the position he had now, if he wanted to humiliate Chao Zhilan, he could do as he pleased. Chao Qiudao, because of the general picture, wouldn't dare to protest against him. However, as his vision was wider, he wasn't as narrow-minded as before. At this moment, the pagans were raging all over the endless sea. Human warriors fell everywhere. Even young Etian was killed. The hotshots remaining included only Chao Qiudao and Fan Xiangyun. Anyway, they were all human. In this calamity, they shouldn't develop grudges against each other. We aren't provoking. Chao Qiudao took a deep breath, his face grim. Shi Yin, we just want to live, a difficult dream at this moment. If you could help us, we agree to give you everything. Everything? Shi Yin frowned. His eyes sparkled coldly. What do you have to give? To me, all of you aren't worth my help. Shi Yin, it's all my fault. I beg you to help us. All of a sudden, Chao Zhilan stepped forward. In front of everybody, she kneeled down. Her white neck craned as she was whining. As long as you save the Chao family from this calamity, I'm willing to receive any punishment. Little Lan. Chao Qiudao and Fan Xiangyun screamed in unison. They hurried to lift her up. However, she was so stubborn. She kneeled down, tearing rolling on her face. She was looking at Shi Yin with yearning and begging intentions in her eyes. Don't beg him. Chao Qiudao was indignant, thundering. Our Chao family has stood firm in the endless sea for thousands of years. It's not easy to uproot us all. We will definitely have a chance to live. No, it's different this time. It's different. Chao Zhilan scooped and cried. No one can help us this time. They are so strong. Yang Etian and Gu Shao are dead. One by one, they both died. The endless sea is now hell on earth. If we don't leave, we can't survive. Chao Zhilan was grim and mournful. Fan Xiangyun intended to advise Chao Zhilan, but having heard her say so, she just sighed, shaking her head and not saying anything. She then turned to Shi Yin, her eyes begging. Shi Yin, if you are a man, don't be arrogant. Mangu shouted. If you can save us, my life will belong to you. No matter what you want to do to me, kill me or hit me, you can do anything. Shi Yin was surprised. Swinging his hand to signal everybody to calm down, he closed his eyes and released his soul consciousness to survey the entire Tuda Sea. The soul consciousness with space power glided rapidly above the Tuda Sea like lightning. Images of numerous islets there were sent to his sea of consciousness like stars in the sky. He received the direct view situation of the Tuda Sea. The Tuda Sea had many islets. Under his soul consciousness surveying, he saw all the inhabited islands ruined and burned down. Columns of black smoke appeared on some islets as the houses were all burned. The vast jungle was charred in a sea of fire. Countless spiritual mountains and lakes were gray and desolate. Creatures were living in misery everywhere his soul consciousness had passed by. This picture was like hell on earth. Civilians became slaves, as the warriors of the underworld drove them like a herd of sheep towards the underworld boundary. Against the human warriors with relatively high cultivation base, the hotshots of the underworld had used some mysterious treasures to force their vitality and essence chi out of their bodies. Their deaths were tragic as, All of them had turned into withered corpses. At the main base of the Yin-Yang fairyland, in the desolate barbarian school, warrior corpses flooded the place. Many blood-dripping skulls were kept around the small island, as if bragging about their bloody and imposing triumph. Many unbearable footages were sent to him through the soul consciousness, projecting on his sea of consciousness. He was a cold-hearted man, and he didn't want to interfere. However, when his mind opened, his calm face started to become indignant and brutal. So cruel. The race war made genocide their goal. Getting the images of those terrible operations, Shi Yin, a cold-hearted man, couldn't help but let the anger inflame him. You don't need to be enraged. No matter which epoch it is, the war between races is always merciless and ruthless. The ice-cold flame sent its soul fluctuations from the blood vein ring. As far as I've known, to get the ruling position, mankind had done the same to the other races, no matter it was the Dark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, or the Ghostmark Clan. That's why they had a deep resentment to mankind. It wasn't something unreasonable. Shi Yan's face darkened. He nodded quietly as he had accepted what the ice-cold flame had told him, but it didn't mean he approved and would let the situation develop furthermore. The situation was like this in the Tuda Sea. Perhaps it was the same bloody scenes in the other sea areas in the Endless Sea. Musing for a while, he took a deep breath, then talked to Cao Dao. From now on, all of you will join the Yang family. I'm going to help you get out of this place. I'll try my best to protect you and not to let you suffer from genocide. Join your Yang family? Fan Xiang Yuan was stunned. We can. Cao Dao was frank enough. He agreed curtly and turned around to talk to Fan Xiang Yuan. At this moment, the Chao family and the Yin-Yang fairyland only have the name left. In fact, we don't have anything left. The Endless Sea is now in chaos. I think the other places should be the same. We should gather the human forces. We should join hands to resist this genocide catastrophe. It's the duty we can't deny. Fan Xiang Yuan was struck. Her eyes brightened as she gritted her teeth and said vehemently, "As long as we can kill these pagans, I will do anything I'm told." "What's the deal?" asked Cao Dao immediately. Shaking his head, Shi Yin darkened his visage. "We don't need any deal. As long as I'm strong enough to subdue you, I think you know what to do. If you are getting stronger one day, our agreement has nothing powerful to bind you." Having experienced so many things, he had soon known that strong power was more important than anything else. Without power, the so-called agreement was even thinner than the hymen, which could be pierced through with just one poke. "All right," Cao Dao nodded. Shi Yin didn't say anything else. He nodded to the ghost hunter and sent his thought to the other strange creatures to tell them to get back to that special space. There were many skeletons with available energy in that space. No matter it was the ghost hunter, the king of demonic insects, or the devouring gold silkworm, they could use this sort of energy to enhance their strength. That's why Shi Yin gave them more time. "I don't need it anymore. Just let them go," said the ghost hunter with an emotionless countenance. His garnet eyes glared at the devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects, and the Holy Spirit God. Of course, these three monsters obeyed Shi Yin a lot. They got back to the space slit once again. Shi Yin beamed a forced smile. He thought for a while and then said, "As things have come to this, perhaps the teleport in the Yang family is broken. Yeah, I need to build another one." Teleportation formation? Where does it lead to? Cao Dao's eyes brightened. "To the divine great land?" Cao Dao, queen of heaven Fan Xiang Yuan, and the others got stirred up, as if they were about to have a new life. They glowed happily. "First, you need to defend all directions. I'm going to build the teleportation formation." Shi Yin assigned the ghost hunter, then talked to Cao Dao and Fan Xiang Yuan. "I need many auxiliary materials. I thought you guys must have them. I'm going to tell you the names of the required materials. You should get them for me." "No problem." The two were frank and generous. They nodded, took out the storage rings on their fingers, and sent their soul consciousness into them to sort out their cultivating materials while waiting for Shi Yan's order. Chapter 604, Dark Sea Overflows. Chapter 604, Dark Sea Overflows. The Chao family and the Yin-Yang fairyland were one of the strongest, oldest forces of the Endless Sea. Through thousands of years, the assets they had accumulated could stun people. Shi Yin told them the auxiliary materials needed to build a teleportation formation. Chao Qiu Dao and Queen of Heaven Fan Xiangyun nodded immediately, which told him that they had all the materials he required. The materials that were scarce in the divine Great Land seemed not strange to Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun. When Shi Yin said the names, they could take the exact materials from the storage ring. When they left their families, they had stashed the properties their families had collected for thousands of years into different storage rings. There were more than 10 storage rings with different colors on Chao Qiu Dao's and Fan Xiangyun's fingers. Shi Yin was quite amazed. To be able to build the teleportation formation as quickly as possible, it seemed these two people didn't want to hold anything back. Shi Yin was astounded. As his thought flickered, he couldn't help but tell them the names of some other materials. The Heaven Flame Refining Divine technique required a huge amount of auxiliary materials. As he was worried about how to collect them, seeing Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun, the two filthy rich people, he didn't want to be polite by not asking them for the required materials that he lacked. Thus, Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun couldn't bear it. Their faces became grimaced. The Heaven Flame Refining Divine technique was a strange method to refine the heaven flames that needed many different types of materials, of which some were never seen before. Their names could be seen only in some ancient books. Fan Xiangyun and Chao Qiu Dao had a broad knowledge, and their families were much stronger than the other small forces in the divine Great Land. However, they had never heard about many materials Shi Yin had asked them. Light dimmed in their eyes. They started to worry. They thought that those auxiliary materials were all needed to build the teleportation formation. As they didn't have enough materials, their faces became glum. Shi Yin was actually astounded. When he told them the materials that needed for the Heaven Flame Refining Divine technique, he didn't think that they could have any of them. However, it turned over his expectation. These two had some mysterious materials that he didn't know how to find. This thrilled him. Don't worry. We have the other way around to make up for the missing materials, Shi Yin comforted them. I have something too. If you don't have them, I can lend you some. I'm sure you can leave the Endless Sea. Don't worry. Shi Yin smiled. His mood was good. He took all the cultivating materials that were piled up on the ground. Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun were the freaks who had lived for more than 100 years. Of course, it was hard to deceive them. They had observed for a while, and immediately knew Shi Yin had seized the chance to rob them. Naturally, they wouldn't say anything, as they could ease their minds now. As long as he could build the teleportation formation, even if Shi Yin had tricked them to take some more materials, they could let it go. I'm going to carry it out. You guys should protect me during the process. Yeah, except for the time when I carve the formation, you can take rest. Don't worry too much. Shi Yin smiled until his eyes narrowed. After he had taken the materials, he started to keep himself busy, not noticing the others. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea were standing next to him. Before he started his work, they discussed with him for a while. Right after that, Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea, and a crowd of the newly formed members of the Corpse clan followed the devouring gold silkworm and the king of demonic insects to that mysterious space. The energy in the skeleton there was pretty useful for them to increase their powers. That space had many jade-like bones that they could absorb energy from. To Shi Yin, this sort of material didn't have much value. However, to the members of the Corpse clan, it was the energy that could enlighten them. It would help them gain intellect sooner. Everybody was busy with their own stuff. Ghost Hunter and Chao Qiu Dao's team were patrolling around. Shi Yin focused on creating a new teleportation formation. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea were taking their clansmen to take the energy from the bones. Time flew by. It had been 5 days. That day, in the immense light, the Ghost Hunter howled. His whistle stormed out violently, raising big waves on the sea in front of them. Chao Qiu Dao and the others were startled. They knew something was going to happen. Then, they hurried to gather near Shi Yin. Covering himself with a strange halo inside a round structure around hundreds of meters squared, Shi Yin was using the earth flame to refine the materials. The Ghost Hunter's whistle had awakened him. His soul consciousness moved as Shi Yin retrieved a glorious piece of silver jade. He frowned, looking at the thick cloud in front of him. Dark Clan's hotshots. In the cold, evil dark chi, dark dwellers were floating around. They all looked thin, their eyes sinister. Each dark dweller was slender, wearing a dark armor. Their hair and skin were silver, gray, or garnet. A Dark Clan's expert standing in the front was around 2 meters tall, but he was as thin as a stick. He was holding a bronze mirror, his face indifferent. He had a distinctive aura of the true God Realm warriors, which led to the change of heaven and earth's aura around him. Yama King Hades, one of the 3 great warriors of the Underworld, was the one in charge of clearing the Tuta Sea. Standing behind Yama King Hades were 3/3 sky of spirit realm experts. They were all middle-aged. Their faces were brutal and vicious. A malicious light sparkled from their eyes. Chao Chou Dao, wind has changed. The Tuta Sea will never be under your Chao family's control again. Yama King Hades was standing in a dark cloud, talking arrogantly. Above his head, sunlight and moonlight seemed to be covered, such that they couldn't shine on the ground. Only the stars could be seen twinkling from time to time. Hades, the one who had answered him, wasn't Chao Chou Dao, it was the ghost hunter. He was floating up from the cold wind island. This beast now looked like a young, heartless man. The curves of his mouth were both cold and sharp like a saber. His eyes were garnet, while he was exuding the distinctive aura of the underworld. It's you. Hades had soon realized something abnormal in the cold wind island, but he didn't expect that what made him anxious was the ghost hunter. He knew the ghost hunter's profile well. The ghost hunter was the hybrid of the 2 imposing demonic beasts of the underworld and the demon area. He had both dark chi and demon chi in his body. He could be considered the most inexplicably magical creature in the universe. His birth had astounded them a lot. Yeah, the ghost hunter was always cold. You should leave. This place isn't the place you can control. My master's here. You won't take the things you want. Master? Hades laughed fiendishly. An intimidating beast like you is willing to take a disgusting human your master? Ghost hunter, you are the most inexplicable living being in this world. Chien, Bosun, and we had always treated you as our friend. We didn't want to enslave you. He's just a lowly human. Is he worth your life? Don't babble. There's something I can't explain clearly, but I know that being with him benefits my future a lot. The ghost hunter wasn't moved but answered honestly. Future? Hades mocked. Do you think he still has a future? Mwahaha. I'm here today. Well, as long as they're human, they have to die all. What future does he have? Swoosh swoosh. 2 clear sounds of things crossing through space echoed from the space crack not far from there. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea appeared together, standing next to Ghost Hunter. It's you. Hades suddenly got enraged. He pointed furiously at Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea. Due to the change of heaven and earth, you should have received the inheritance already. You know what had happened, right? You are the intimidating Corpse Clan, the high-grade creatures like our Dark Clan. We should walk the same road. You two, are you going to protect this low human? Do you know what you are doing? Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea didn't change as much as the Ghost Hunter. They were too lazy to answer. They stood still and didn't move, but their attitude was clear. Good, good, good. Hades was furious like a bloodthirsty beast. His eyes were sinister and evil as he said with a hoarse, cold voice, if you are persistent, don't blame me for killing you all. Befriending humans is your humiliation. You have no right to live in this world anymore, so that the other high-grade races won't laugh on your faces. The bronze mirror in his hand struck out, as the dark sea of the underworld appeared in the mirror. The seawater torrentially rose from the bronze mirror, covering the entire cold wind island. The water of the dark sea was the original fountain that gave birth and nurtured the dark dwellers. It was the symbol of power. Each member of the Dark Clan, after soaking the body into the dark sea, would have their power enhanced. Then, they could perform many secret techniques of the Dark Clan. However, this seawater was the most poisonous toxin to the other races. The dark seawater could drag the soul of the other race's members in for a short time. As long as the creature was soaked into the water, the waves would drag their soul out of the body. Then, the soul would lose its memory and consciousness. Eventually, it would become a primitive, resentful spirit of the underworld. After the three Yama kings Abi, Hades, and Dark Sky were hurt severely in the Endless Sea, Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao didn't dare to attack the underworld because of the Dark Sea in the underworld. The Dark Sea was strange and evil. There was no method to eliminate the sea's effect on souls. If the Dark Sea seawater touched the warriors a little bit, their souls would lose a part of memory. The bronze mirror in Yama King Hades wasn't a strong treasure, but it could draw the seawater of the Dark Sea, which was terribly intimidating. If the Dark Sea of the underworld flooded the Endless Sea, human warriors there would be erased, leaving no trace. They didn't need a single battle to get what they wanted. The torrential waves of the Dark Sea furiously gushed out from the bronze mirror, pouring on the Cold Wind Island. Shortly, the Cold Wind Island was flooded with the Dark Sea's water. All creatures, no matter they were human, demonic beasts, or the members of the Corpse Clan like Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea, were releasing different types of halo and light cages to separate their bodies from the seawater. No use. You can't endure for a long time. And me, I have plenty of free time. Hades laughed contentedly. Chapter 605. Underworld God Sacrifice. Chapter 605. Underworld God Sacrifice. Yama King Hades wasn't hurried. He led a group of Dark Clan's experts, hiding in the thick, dark clouds of the underworld. They were enjoying the dark chi of the Dark Sea while waiting for the opponent to be weakened. As long as the creature had a soul, the Dark Sea water would drain its soul power, and it couldn't resist for a long time. Human warriors like Chao Qiu Dao and Queen of Heaven Fan Xiangyun had used their essence chi to create different colored light balls, covering their bodies to prevent the Dark Sea water from touching them. As Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun had reached the spirit realm, countering the soul erosion wasn't too difficult. However, Chao Zhilan and Mangu were struggling hard. Under the erosive effect of the Dark Sea, their souls fell into the endless darkness, their consciousness blurry. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea were also a kind of creature. Even though they were the clansmen of the Corpse Clan, the Dark Sea could still affect them. Fortunately, these two had a strong physique, and they were good at using the five elements' power. They had urged the earth power to create a thick soil wall to shield them. The seawater couldn't touch them. Shi Yin was using the same method as Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea. Seeing the experts of the underworld, Shi Yin wasn't anxious. He was still staying inside the center of the giant formation to build the teleportation formation. He was gently wetting the exquisite, magical formation, pouring his soul consciousness, winding around the shape of the formation that was getting more perfect over time. The copious Dark Sea water swarmed over, covering him. However, Shi Yin wasn't affected even though he was soaked in the seawater. He was still working on his formation. Yama King Hades came here for Chao Qiu Dao's group. However, after he found Ghost Hunter, Corpse Mount, and Corpse Sea accompanying Shi Yin, he got indignant and made Shi Yin his primary target. He led the Dark Sea water here to catch all those people, but Shi Yin was safe and sound, which enraged him more. Kid, an inferior existence like you shouldn't continue to live, Yama King Hades snorted, as an ash-gray light glowed behind his back. A strange soul fluctuation poured into the Dark Sea all of a sudden. Gold ash-gray light dots arose in the Dark Sea water. They were like creatures living in the sea, slowly swelling. Gradually, they became the strange, ugly creatures with sharp claws and thick white fangs. They were as agile as shuttles moving in the Dark Sea. The sharp-edged dark beast was the endemic creature in the Dark Sea. It could nibble all kinds of creatures with its special skill called Shivering Soul. This kind of a bizarre beast of the underworld didn't have a specific level. They could always evolve quickly, but the obstacles in their cultivating process were tough. Most of the time, many of them died while breaking through. The sharp-edged dark beasts had a pointy body, like a cone with sharp teeth, and the innate soul technique called Shivering Soul. Even the hotshot of the underworld didn't want to mess up with them in the Dark Sea. They moved in schools, and their innate Shivering Soul ability could join and release together dangerously. The sharp-edged dark beasts were gliding and surfing like fast fish in the dark sea at a fast speed. Soul energy quickly gathered in the dark sea. Each sharp-edged dark beast became a cage that could trap the soul as they swarmed forward. Yin was squinting to focus on his teleportation formation. He was adding more auxiliary materials when he felt his sea of consciousness suddenly shudder. Flows of strange soul energy had intruded his sea of consciousness. Those flows were scattering, but they seemed to follow some sort of natural soul formation, which would make the soul power of the host soul tremble continually. This situation would put the warrior into a coma. After Yin had studied the formations in the blacksmith's secrets of success, he had a new cognition of using different natural powers. He knew that even demonic beasts knew how to use the formation in the most natural way. Shivering soul skill of the sharp-edged dark beasts used the scattering feeble souls, joining them with their endemic fellows to create the highest attack mode. Yin frowned, and he temporarily stopped his work. A strange light glistered in his eyes as the soul fluctuations in his sea of consciousness became fierce. Die out. His host soul floating in the sea of consciousness shouted a pair of soul words. That word then condensed into a solid square, sparkling with a silver light, flying towards the barrier in the sea of consciousness. A gloomy soul light of the sharp-edged dark beasts shimmered on the barrier in his sea of consciousness, creating a soul formation that had formed an octagonal natural formation. It shot out rapidly toward his host's soul. The symbol die out was condensed from the soul, which carried the meaning of the death intent domain. The mournful, dismay aura of death overflowed, covering each gloomy soul light. Under the death intent domain, a will of death furiously flooded the soul light dots, destroying their belief in life. The sharp-edged dark beast dashed to him, but they all lost their vitality right before they could touch him. The soul consciousness of Hades added in them vanished. The sharp-edged dark beast sank into the deep place. They got killed silently like that. King Hades felt something. He groaned in the dark chi above the dark sea. His voice was low at first, but its echoes were increasing. Explosions as loud as thunder filled the dark sea. Refined dark chi dispersed in the dark sea. Under the explosion, it condensed into an underworld's giant resentful spirit. This resentful spirit looked exactly like Hades, lively, dark, and evil. The spirit laughed fiendishly. It glided above the dark sea towards Yin, then opened its giant mouth to bite his head. Well, you're bad luck then. Yin curled his lips, cracking a smile while muttering something under his breath. A dark light ball detached from the storage ring. The light ball suddenly released waves of energy that could absorb the soul energy. Just like billions of tentacles, it started to capture and pull the resentful spirit towards the light ball. Soul-gathering pearl. King Hades discolored in fear. While he was fluttering, he bit the tip of his tongue. His blood was urged. Abruptly, his eyes now had a bizarre white hue, so people couldn't see his pupils. The resentful spirit struggled harder, as if it had been added with god power. Flows of gloomy energy detached from his body, shooting in every direction. Shortly, half of the energy that condensed the resentful spirit divided and escaped this way. However, the soul-gathering pearl had absorbed 1/3 of its energy. Its original power was damaged severely. When the resentful spirit ran away, King Hades' white eyes became normal. His complexion was grim like never before. He thundered, I didn't think that a kid like you can have so many evil techniques, which are even crueler than the technique our pagan tribes are cultivating. Yin lifted his head to look at him. He chuckled, then continued to build his formation. He sent his thought, don't let him disturb me. I need to focus. You shoo him away for me. The ghost hunter covered in the dark sea around 100 meters away from him nodded. Then a strange soul fluctuation released from him. The good-looking figure of the ghost hunter looked ethereal in the dark sea. He was like an illusion that was changing his position constantly, using the dark chi of the dark sea to adjust his physical status. His case wasn't similar to the others. In the dark sea, he was the only one who wasn't affected. Actually, his soul had gained benefit from the sea water. He was a hybrid of the demonic beasts of the underworld and the demon area. He was born with the gift of being able to use the dark chi of the underworld. The dark sea was the fountain of origin of the underworld. To him, it could give him a strange but useful energy to grow his soul. He had stayed idle to let the dark sea refine his soul and body, which had just been upgraded. This brought a big advantage to his future cultivation. Hades, you should leave immediately. Or else, don't blame me for being impolite. The ghost hunter's body looked like fractured images reflected in a broken mirror. All of a sudden, it broke into small pieces, which seemed extremely strange. Yama King Hades was shaken, while his eyes showed his rage. He rumbled, "Ghost hunter, you dare attack me?" After his thundering roar, Yama King Hades' body started to distort as if numerous sharp blades were cutting him off. This scene gave people a fierce anxiety deep in their hearts. The ghost hunter's body turned into countless pieces, disappearing into the dark sea. The tranquil dark sea then started to surge vehemently like an enraged beast. Columns of water shot up to the sky, attacking the experts of the Dark Clan hiding in the sky. Each water column had the strange garnet eyes of the ghost hunter, as though he was hiding himself in each flow of his attack. "All right, if you don't care about your life, don't blame me." Yama King Hades was filled with rage. His eyes turned back to its original color. His arms, which were hiding in the loose sleeves, were as pale as the ghost claws. However, they didn't have any flesh. This sent shivers down people's spines. His hands were forming white hand seals, shooting into the air. They were triangular, conical, or round, etc. Each hand seal was shiny white, revealing the unique gloomy aura of the underworld. They seemed to promote the underworld's aura to the acme. Many white pale seals gathered under his feet. Gradually, they formed a pallid sacrificial altar, which was filled with resentful spirits. The resentful spirits there were exuding a white mist. The sacrificial altar descended rumblingly, snatching at the ghost hunter. Countless resentful spirit on the altar gushed out white mist, swarming towards the ghost hunter. The altar was covered in the white mist. A soul-destructive aura diffused from the altar, as if it was judging the creatures. The aura there was grim and solemn. The ghost hunter was besieged in the altar. All of a sudden, it turned back to the ferocious beast form, furiously roaring and attacking the white jade barrier of the sacrificial altar, releasing its strange and brutal energy. White bunches of light entangled the ghost hunter, piercing and intruding his body. Chapter 606, Separate. Chapter 606, Separate. The ghost hunter roared in pain. This bunch of light had cut off the sharp thorns on his body. Fine cracks also appeared on the ghost hunter's armor. "Are you convinced?" Yama King Hades shouted with his dark face. "This is the underworld god's sacrifice. I got it from the Holy Land. Even the true God realm expert would become a sacrifice to the underworld god. If you leave that kid and work for our Dark Clan, I can spare you from this calamity." The ghost hunter was screaming and howling, but he didn't answer the Yama King. The armor on his body started to crack. Shi Yin was concentrating on building the teleportation formation. Suddenly, he turned around, facing the sky above his head. He had thought that the ghost hunter could stop Hades. He didn't expect that the beast would fall into this situation. Normally, a level 9 demonic beast was a little bit stronger than an expert who had just entered the true god realm. Although the ghost hunter had just reached level 9, Yama King Hades seemed to have reached the true god realm not long before himself. According to his estimation, he thought the ghost hunter would win. He had underestimated Hades' competence. Also, he didn't know that Yama King Hades had received a big harvest from the 3 bottom levels of the underworld. He should speed up building the teleportation formation. He didn't know when more pagan experts would come here after Yama King Hades. Thus, he was determined to finish this stuff at the fastest speed. As for Chao Qiu Dao and Fan Xiang Yun, he deemed that they wouldn't be eroded shortly. Thus, he wasn't going to protect them at the moment. However, from the current situation, things had gone beyond his estimation. Underworld God Sacrifice. Shi Yin scooped his head and muttered while his face became colder. While his thought flickered, the storage ring flashed. 3 bone spears he had just refined shot out with a sharp whistle. The white light zoomed out as fast as lightning, crossed the space and appeared behind Yama King Hades, stabbing furiously. Puff! Yama King Hades trembled and fell forward. 3 blood holes appeared on his back. As his soul was controlling the underworld god's sacrifice, when he got hurt, the power of the altar reduced greatly. The ghost hunter finally had a moment of freedom in the white altar. He took out the demonic bell and shook it crazily. Demon waves rippled from the bell. Amidst the strange jingling, the waves hit the sacrificial altar, and fire sparked everywhere. The ear-splitting explosions reverberated in the sky. Yama King Hades' soul was screaming heavily. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth as he gazed at Shi Yin, talking through his gritted teeth. "Damn you, human." A pallid underworld hand seal that looked like layers of white cloud descended rumblingly on Shi Yin's head, as imposing as a mountain. 3 bone thorns appeared next to him out of thin air. Shi Yin cracked a smile, his eyes bright. The bone thorns were refined from a level 10 beast's bones. Although they weren't divine weapons, however, after Shi Yin had added his soul consciousness, they became strange and unpredictable. They could cross spaces easily, which was the special feature of his soul consciousness. Space power could tear space that no one could track down. It could storm out from any angles to perform the most dangerous ambush. Yama King Hades, a true God Realm warrior, was his first experimental subject. Luckily, it worked all right at the first trial. 3 bone thorns had left 3 fist-sized blood holes on Hades' back. If Yama King Hades weren't strong enough, that strike could take his life. Shi Yin felt contented. Shi Yin wasn't worried about the mountain-like underworld hand seal above his head. He smiled quietly, urging his soul power again. The underworld hand seal snatched down, but all of a sudden, a space crack appeared above Shi Yin's head. Yama King Hades was stunned, looking at the underworld hand seal falling into that space crack and disappearing completely, leaving nothing behind. Shi Yin could counter the attack of the Ghost Mark clan sages at the True God Realm, which gave him a deeper understanding of space power. Now, he could tear the space quickly and swallow all furious attacks. Ghost Hunter, give him brutal attack. After he had dissolved the underworld hand sea, Shi Yin's soul was a little bit tired. He hurried to assign the Ghost Hunter. The Ghost Hunter was roaring and screaming crazily. The demonic bell in his hand was shaken constantly. Demonic light waves continually rippled, creating a barrier covering all Underworld's hotshots. Even Yama King Hades couldn't escape that demonic light. The demonic beast's power was much crazier and more ruthless than the Underworld's warriors. The tantrum of the Ghost Hunter had pushed the Underworld's experts backward. As Shi Yin had successfully ambushed Yama King Hades, the latter was bleeding badly. Since his underworld hand seal with his soul energy was swallowed by a space crack, and his soul was hurt, Hades couldn't urge the underworld god's sacrifice again. He was distraught. Seeing the Ghost Hunter's rage, Yama King Hades had no way to counter. He knew that even if he could gather his energy, he wasn't the Ghost Hunter's match. Hades had to retreat. At a place far away from the cold wind island, he threw the bronze mirror out again to retrieve the dark sea water, which was covering the entire cold wind island, like a whale taking in water. Ghost Hunter, wait for me. The next time I'm here is the time of your death. Hades roared indignantly. His figure faded away and eventually disappeared. The giant body of the Ghost Hunter changed. Shortly, he returned to the cold, handsome, but evil-looking young man. He sneered, his face disdainful. Yama King Hades left, so Cao Qiu Dao's group restored quickly. Cao Qiu Dao didn't get hurt. While Ghost Hunter and Hades were engaging in their battle, he had disappeared mysteriously for a while. Cao Qiu Dao had mastered his shadowless path. Once he disappeared and reappeared again, it was the time his life-taking attack came into effect. The reason why Yama King Hades had to retreat quickly was that he was afraid the shadowless path of Cao Qiu Dao. He understood well how dangerous Cao Qiu Dao was. He was like a toxic viper hiding in the dark, which could emerge at any minute. Yin, what means did you use to dissolve Yama King Hades' attack? Chao Qiu Dao was surprised. He strolled to Yin and asked, I'm good at hiding, and I have a profound knowledge of ambushing. I was behind Hades, but I didn't see the trajectory of the 3 bone spears. How did you do that? Fan Xiangyuan also looked at him with an odd expression, waiting for his explanation. If you can break space, no one can track you down, Yin answered nonchalantly. He didn't explain further, concentrating on the teleportation formation in front of him. Chao Qiu Dao contemplated. He vaguely got something, but Fan Xiangyuan and the others didn't get the meaning behind Yan's words. However, they didn't want to chase him. Seeing Yin focusing on building the teleportation formation, they all shut their mouths and scattered to protect him from a distance. Yin knew he didn't have too much time. He wholeheartedly put his mind to work. 3 days later, he had finished the formation, using his soul to carve the space nodes to connect this formation to the formation of the Northern Gem Mountain. The teleport formation suddenly glowed like a lamp, as unique space fluctuations rippled. We can leave now, Yin exhaled, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Go through the teleportation formation, and you can arrive at the Divine Great Land directly. If you don't have any other ideas, we can go now. Chao Qiu Dao's group understood well that they couldn't linger in the endless sea anymore. They all nodded without any hesitation. On the other side, Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea acted strangely. The 2 of them were using a soft tone to summon the other members of the Corpse clan. You guys, Yin was surprised. Is there a place called the Ancient Corpse Tomb in that land? Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea asked in unison. A strange light crossed Yan's eyes. He didn't want to conceal. True. There's a place called the Ancient Corpse Tomb. How did you know that? The inheritance we got came from that area. Our fellows are still calling for us from that area using our Corpse clan's unique method. Corpse Mount talked slowly, but he couldn't explain clearly with unnatural pauses. However, both Yin and Chao Qiu Dao understood his words, their faces scared. Yin tried to press down the anxiety in his heart. He pondered, then gritted his teeth. Go. You should call your fellows. I'll take you guys there. Yin. Chao Qiu Dao couldn't help but shout. Don't say anything. I know what you're thinking. Yin looked cold. Even if they get stronger in the future and become the strongest force of the Corpse clan, I have no problem with that. As things have turned into this, a little more chaotic is not much different to me. Chao Qiu Dao was upset, but still, he didn't try to persuade him further and just nodded begrudgingly. He and Yin understood that the Ancient Corpse Tomb in the Divine Great Land would absolutely have formidable experts of the Corpse clan. Once they let Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea come to the Ancient Corpse Tomb, even though they had a good relationship with Yin, they would be brainwashed. With the stronger power they could get from the Ancient Corpse Tomb, they would become the executioners slaughtering mankind. I want to stay here for a while. They do too. However, at this moment, the ghost hunter walked over with the devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects, and the Holy Spirit God. There's power in the heavenly demon mountain range and the vault of heaven sea that could make us stronger. We want to get it. What kind of power? Yin changed his expression. Don't know, but I can feel it. Ghost hunter mused for a while. Wait until we can have that power in the heavenly demon mountain range. We will be stronger. At that time, we can support you better. The devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects, and the Holy Spirit God stood silently near him, letting him talk for them. Yin was moved. He knew the situation was changing massively in the way he couldn't understand. This world would become the battlefield of many races. If he could gather enough forces, he would survive the upcoming violent war. Of course, he wouldn't hinder them. He advised them to be careful. Eventually, the ghost hunter, the devouring gold silkworm, the king of demonic insects, and the Holy Spirit God left. They separated from him at the Cold Wind Island. Yin activated the teleportation formation. He took Chao Qiu Dao's group and the crowd of members of the Corpse clan to the Northern Gem Mountain in the Divine Great Land group by group. However, right after he appeared in the teleportation formation he built in the Northern Gem Mountain, he changed his complexion into a dark and sinister one, Chapter 607, Catastrophe. Chapter 607, Catastrophe. Columns of thick black smoke soaring into the sky looked like long dragons meandering on the horizon. Images sent to his eyes were all about ruins. It was the whole vast area of silence under his soul consciousness surveying. The northern gem city situated next to the northern gem mountain had no fluctuations of life. It seemed that everybody living in the city had died. The teleportation formation he had built in a flank of a mountain in the northern gem mountain wasn't damaged, but there was no man of the Yang family here. The entire northern gem mountain had fallen into silence and darkness. Apparently, a big change had happened here. Floating above the northern gem mountain, Yin was worried, his eyes gloomy and serious. He continued to guide his soul consciousness around the area, then moved towards the radiant god cult. Places where his soul consciousness glided above had no signs of mankind. The spirit temples of the radiant god cult were just ruins now. Many cities and manors had been burned into ashes. The situation of the radiant god cult was strangely similar to the endless seas. This was a genocide war. Cao Dao, Fan Xiangyun, and the others also felt insecure. They were hovering in the sky, gathering their minds to observe everywhere. Their complexion darkened. The hope they just had developed seemed to be dragged out of their hearts little by little. However, the clansmen of the Corpse clan, including Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea, acted as if they didn't see the miseries around. They kneeled down and bowed towards the general direction of the ancient corpse tomb, as though their god and their belief were there. Yan's soul consciousness moved quickly. After a while, he descended on a mountain of the northern gem mountain. His face was grim as he took a cold breath. The event happening in the Endless Sea also takes place in the Divine Great Land. Perhaps the situation here is more severe than in the Endless Sea. Cao Dao was stupefied. He sighed and then nodded. You guys should make up your mind. I haven't destroyed the teleportation formation in the Cold Wind Island. If you want to go back now, I can take you there. Yan's face was ice cold. He didn't want to conceal anymore. As far as I am concerned, the Divine Great Land's now more dangerous. If you stay here, I'm not sure what would happen. We need to discuss. Cao Dao didn't decide immediately. He pondered, then muttered to Fan Xiangyun and the others. We need to discuss. Whether leaving or staying, we need to decide quickly. I'll go and check for a while. You guys stay here and make up your mind. Yin frowned. Abruptly, he flew towards the Spirit Treasure Sect. Shortly, he was in the adjacent area between the Spirit Treasure Sect and the Northern Gem Mountain. Yin urged his soul consciousness to sense the wonderful stone city. A deadly silent area? Yin discolored in fright. The surprise in his heart swelled bigger. From deep inside his soul, an anxious, frightful feeling arose. What had happened? The Radiant God Cult and the Spirit Treasure Sect were both destroyed. Why had such strong ancient factions collapsed and their main gate struck down? He had stayed in the Endless Sea for only 1 year. It was a short period. However, the Divine Great Land seemed to have an earth-shaking calamity. Everything had changed, and only one thing remained. The sun, the moon, and the stars were still shining together in the sky. Due to the change of heaven and earth, the powers of his martial spirits had been increased rapidly, which made him feel lucky. However, looking at the phenomenon in the sky, he only felt chilled. Was it the sign of an apocalypse? Was it the sign that mankind was about to be destroyed and replaced? With a stupefied complexion, he suddenly felt lost. He returned to the northern Gem Mountain in a daze. We had decided to stay, Cao Dao said determinedly. The Dark Clan and the Demon Clan are slaughtering the entire Endless Sea. Once we go back, we'll become the biggest targets. Although we don't know what has happened in the Divine Great Land, at least we haven't met any enemy yet. Perhaps we won't become the main targets. At this moment, Yin felt really distressed. He didn't think much and just said deliberately, if you want to stay, just stay. As things have accelerated to this point, I have no means to support you much. I've said that you guys could be members of the Yang family. Forget it. We shall separate from here. We know nothing about this place. Cao Zhilan sighed piteously. Before this event, I had known something about this place. But at this moment, you and I are the same. Shi Yin beamed a forced smile, waving his hand. From now on, you should find your way to survive. I actually have no way to help you furthermore. He was really twitchy. The calamity that happened to the Radiant God cult told him that something really terrible had happened throughout the divine Great Land. Nobody remained in this area. Even if he wanted to ask for information, he couldn't find anyone. He couldn't guess whether his family and the Yang family and the Shi family were still alive or dead, which put him deep into sorrow. As far as I've known, your Yang family's immortal blood has magical effects. It can even sense the existence of the opponents and what will happen in the future. Chao Qiu Dao's eyes sparkled with strange light, talking to him with a soft tone. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. It was true. The immortal blood did have magical effects. You guys should take a rest. Shi Yan's face was moved. He found a cave and sat down cross-legged. He used his mind to control the immortal rebirth secret to condense the immortal blood. Then, he could use the secret technique to predict. A ruby drop of immortal blood turned into scarlet mist under his power. Flows of pure energy rumblingly poured into the scarlet mist. His soul and soul consciousness started to change and cooperate with the red mist. He was using the obsessiveness in his mind to call for one person, using his thought to sense him. An immense light glowed inside the scarlet mist, turning into a hazy mirror. An image slowly appeared in it, Yangzhua. Yangzhua's shadow became clearer. He was in a desolate jungle. The big trees there seemed to wither. The flora there was tall and strong, jutting from the greenish-gray ground. Thick grass was reaching around people's waist. Shi Yin could see the vague images of some persons standing next to Yangzhua. With a close look, he could recognize them. They were Yang Mu, Yang Shui, Shi Jian, and the other seniors of the Shi family. Many people were gathering and discussing something. It gave Shi Yin a severe and solemn feeling. Shi Yin was struck. He poured more soul power into the red mist to expand it. Abruptly, the red mist projected more shadows, all of them being vague. Shi Yin couldn't see their original appearances. However, from their shapes, he knew they were all humans. Switching his view, he recognized many shadows moving in that vast jungle. He didn't know how many people were gathering there. Swoosh! A beam of light shot out from the jungle, piercing through the red mist in front of him. His fog dispersed. The effect of the immortal blood was over at this moment. Shi Yan's soul and spirit were exhausted, and he woke up. Chao Qiu Dao and his team could feel the energy moving in this area. They wanted to get closer, but the war devil had stopped them. Chao Qiu Dao got it. As the war devil had stopped them, they didn't try to barge in, just waiting at their spots. Inside the cave, Shi Yin took the soul-gathering pearl out of the storage ring. Watching the fine fibers moving inside the black pearl, he felt happy. Putting the soul-gathering pearl at his glabella, Shi Yin used his sea of consciousness to draw that pure soul energy bit by bit. After half a minute, he got up. His spirit was high, and the anxiety on his face was washed away. How was it? Chao Qiu Dao saw him walking out, so he hurried to greet him, his face longing. They're okay. They have moved to a place we don't know. Not only the Radiant God cult, but also the hotshots of the other factions are there. Shi Yin talked about the vague images he had seen. I think the 7 ancient factions of the divine Great Land have joined hands. They are gathering at the same place to counter the strong enemies. As long as we can find their location, you guys can go there, too. As Chao Qiu Dao heard him say so, his spirit was lifted up. You guys? Shi Yin was hesitant, looking at the members of the Corpse clan standing far from him. We want to go to the ancient Corpse tomb. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea replied him without any hesitation. Chao Qiu Dao's face was dark and cold while a brutal light sparkled in his eyes. Shi Yin squinted, looking at him coldly before he talked to Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea. You guys can leave now. I hope when we meet again, you still know who I am. We will. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea answered him in unison. Then, they used the special etiquette of the Corpse clan to bid him farewell. The 2 Corpse kings led their clansmen strolling towards the ancient Corpse tomb. Shi Yin looked at them leaving, his face odd, sad, and mournful. "You should kill them," Chao Chiu Dao said with a cold tone. "They are all pagans. Sooner or later, they will become your enemies." Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea have unpredictably huge potential. If they get to the ancient corpse tomb, their powers would skyrocket. Perhaps they will become the future leaders of the Corpse Clan. Your deed shows that you are irresponsible towards the entire mankind. "It's okay," Shi Yin shrugged. "According to my experience, sometimes the pagan tribes are more trustworthy." Chao Chiu Dao was surprised, looking at him dazedly without saying anything. "What should we do now?" Fan Xiangyun asked. "How do we know the gathering spot of humans in the divine Great Land?" "Shi Yin, do you have any clue?" "I have no idea at this moment." Shi Yin shook his head, but suddenly he smiled. "You guys should stay here first. For a short period at least, this place should be safe enough. I want to go out to find someone and ask for the current situation." "Who are you looking for?" "Anybody. As long as it's a living creature, I can use my soul to contact them. Even if it is a pagan, as long as it's alive, it should know what had happened in the divine Great Land." "Be careful." "All right. You guys should be more careful. I'm going to block the teleportation formation here. Don't worry. No one can get here from the endless sea through this formation. You just need to watch over the situation around here." Chao Chiu Dao's group listened to him. They nodded silently, and they didn't ask to go with him. Shi Yin didn't say any more nonsense. He advised them and then flew towards the Spirit Treasure Sect. He could confirm that the calamity happened in the divine Great Land is related to the alien tribes here. The Dark Spirit Clan and the Ghost Mark Clan must have had a part in this. About the Corpse Clan, he didn't dare to confirm. The Spirit Treasure Sect had the shady firmament Old Mound, the gathering spot of the Ghost Mark Clan. Going in that direction, he could find something as long as he was careful. Chapter 608, Ringleader. Chapter 608, Ringleader. He didn't tell Chao Chiu Dao's team that he had gotten the location of Yang Zhua and the others through the immortal blood. They were in the territory of the Martial Spirit Palace. He had to pass the Spirit Treasure Sect to go to the Martial Spirit Palace. He wanted to visit the Spirit Treasure Sect first to check the situation, and then he would decide whether to go to the Martial Spirit Palace's area or not. Chao Chiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun had a relatively high cultivation base. However, they were taking almost 100 warriors with different cultivation bases. When such a force went towards the Martial Spirit Palace, it would be hazardous. He had locked the teleportation formation in the northern Gem Mountain. Since he had built this formation himself, when he found Yangzhua's group, he could create a new one, then use the space nodes to break the lock of the formation in the northern Gem Mountain. At that time, Chao Chiu Dao's team could get there from thousands of miles away. With a careful calculation, he used the fastest speed to glide above the Spirit Treasure Sect. Several days later, he arrived at the wonderful Stone City. Hovering above the wonderful Stone City, his face darkened as he let out a long sigh. The wonderful Stone City was devastated. The city walls were broken badly, and the city was like a young maid who was raped many times. This scene looked incomparably pathetic. He saw no shadows in the city. Places where the packed stores used to stand were all empty. All the materials were robbed. Decaying bodies exuded a pungent smell in the whole city. Insects moved in schools, operating happily in every corner. Shi Yin shook his head while his soul consciousness was moving. He understood that the pagan clans had attacked the city. Fortunately, there weren't many bodies in the city, just around several thousand. This number was much different from the number of human warriors staying in the wonderful Stone City. This meant many people had escaped this calamity. The body of a spirit realm warrior had an evident difference from the ordinary warriors. It wouldn't decompose in a short time. Using his soul consciousness to sense for a while, he didn't find any warriors at this realm. Thus, he was sure Zhu Yi's group was still alive. Gliding through the wonderful Stone City, he flew towards the shady firmament Old Mound. Shi Yin concealed his aura and the anger in his heart. Shady Firmament Old Mound was the gathering place of the Ghost Mark clan. As the catastrophe had happened in the Divine Great Land, members of the Ghost Mark clan should have their powers recovered. They wouldn't hide anymore and would operate everywhere. With this assumption, he was ready to fight when he reached the shady firmament old mound. Arriving at that bleak plain, looking at the burrows leading underground, Yin squinted as he was sensing the cold aura diffusing from the holes. His eyes sparkled with cold light. A flow of soul consciousness that he had disguised and concealed sneaked into a burrow, entering deeper into the shady firmament old mound. Swoosh! His soul consciousness had barged onto an invisible barrier, causing fire to spark. Yin was shaken as he thought the situation wasn't good. He retreated his soul consciousness and ran away immediately. Not long after he had left, a second sky of spirit realm warrior of the Ghost Mark clan walked out from the burrow Yin had sent his soul consciousness into. That man was wearing a new armor with strange patterns. He wasn't bony anymore. Quite the contrary. This man was sturdy as his body was releasing waves of a dangerous energy. He stood at the entrance, snorted, then released his soul power to sense. After a while, he frowned, retrieving his soul consciousness and getting back to the cave with regret. However, right at this moment, the three narrow, snow-white bone thorns appeared behind him like lightning and stabbed him in just a blink of an eye. At the same time, under the dazzling sunlight above that warrior's head, a red light spot enlarged. A man that looked like an angel holding a giant sword with a brutal aura rumblingly descended from the sky. The sword was full of the destructive negative energy, storming into the warrior's sea of consciousness. Puff! The ghost scripture armor on his back was pierced through instantly, leaving 3 arm-sized holes in the middle of his back. Blood gushed out fiercely. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth as the Ghost Mark clan's warrior couldn't help but shout painfully. However, his scream was hindered as a torrential wave of air ruthlessly was pressing from the sky. That warrior didn't have time to use the superior attainment of the Ghost Mark clan. He could only urge the ghost tattoo, creating a deadwood spirit armor to cover his body. Courting death. The man above his head smiled faintly. The giant sword in his hand was slashing down like a massive mountain on the warrior's head. Bang bang. That man felt his brain was shaken, and his sea of consciousness was disordered. Blood was continually streaming from the wounds on his back. Then he went unconscious shortly. The young man holding the giant sword revealed himself at this moment. He grabbed the warrior by his neck and hurried to flee away from this area. After half an hour, 2 members of the Ghost Mark clan with Spirit Realm cultivation base appeared at the entrance of that cave. Someone had fought here. One of the 2 discolored. He walked towards a blood puddle, touched it, then said coldly, "It's the blood of our clansmen. Damn it! Someone has ambushed here. Report it. We shall chase and kill that murderer." The 2 hotshots of the Ghost Mark clan immediately released their soul consciousness, using their soul to contact some secret place in the subterranean shady firmament old mound to report their findings. Not long afterward, many members of the Ghost Mark clan appeared in this bleak plain, all having an excellent cultivation base. Colding aura diffused from them as they scattered to every direction to search for the target. The northern Cold City was deadly silent. Just like the wonderful Stone City, the northern Cold City was one of the primary cities of the Spirit Treasure sect. But today, it was just a desolate city, as if its prosperity was just something in the past. Cold air exuded in a shabby store in the south of the city. A member of the Ghost Mark clan was covered in thick ice, sparing only his head. Blood covered his face, which made him look fiercer. Yin was standing in front of him, increasing the power of the ice-cold flame to keep that man conscious. "I want to know what has happened in the divine great land during the past year," he asked coldly as a scarlet flame burst out from his fingertip. He put his finger on that man's chest. As his body was sealed in the ice, the flame drilled through the whole block of ice. In the extremely cold ice, the scorching flame didn't bring him any bit of warmth. Quite the contrary, it was a torture making him want to kill himself. However, when his thought had just appeared, his sea of consciousness surged, and that thought was dispersed. As you have the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base in the Ghost Mark clan, you shouldn't be someone that no one knows. However, If you want to use the treasure to report or make your soul collapse to exchange for sending the information here, it isn't appropriate, you know. Shi Yin curled his lips and laughed. I know your Ghost Mark Clan Soul Upanishads, so don't do your tricks in front of me. Shi Yin. You are Shi Yin. The Ghost Mark Clan's expert suddenly shouted, his face indignant. Shi Yin beamed a smile. You know me? Our Ghost Mark Clan had poured the calamity on the Spirit Treasure Sect. We got your profile from many experts of the Spirit Treasure Sect. Haha, it's you. It's you who broke into the place and let the Ghost Mark Clan see the sunlight again. Also, it's you who has activated the universe barrier, leading to the great change of heaven and earth. Haha, the catastrophe of the divine great land is because of you. We must remember your favor. Well, my benefactor, you are the benefactor of our clan, but you are the sinner of the entire humanity. The Ghost Mark Clan's expert laughed until tears rolled down his face. He looked both insane and joyful. With his words, Shi Yin was struck hard. He stood stupefied, not moving an inch. Ringleader. He was the ringleader. Previously, he could vaguely feel that the change of heaven and earth was somehow related to him. However, he didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to overthink. He just wanted to avoid the fact. Today, through this Ghost Mark Clan's warrior, he had finally known that he was the cause of the change in this world. Thinking about the catastrophe of the Endless Sea, about numerous human beings in the Grace mainland that were killed, Shi Yin was petrified. A massive, painful, and bitter shame overflowed from his soul, entering his brain and occupying all of his thoughts. He stood there emotionlessly, as if he had lost his soul. He didn't react to the provocation of that Ghost Mark Clan's warrior. It seemed something hard in his heart was fractured abruptly, pushing him into a big devil inner barrier that he couldn't restore his sound mind. It's related to you, but it isn't your responsibility. This is the trend of evolution. Without you, the space division would still happen. You just made it happen earlier. The other races have the right to live. Should they be expelled forever? Should their clans go extinct? The ice-cold flame's thought sent to him from the blood vein ring. It was using its own way to console Shi Yin. Shi Yin was still absent-minded as if he couldn't hear anything. You shouldn't let resentment nibble you. At this moment, you should use your best to save the situation. You have something you want to hold on. You have someone you want to protect. If you can't awake, things will never overturn. The ice-cold flame continued to comfort him. Shi Yin's soul seemed to gather once again as he was restoring his consciousness. His dim eyes started to brighten. Well, just say I did it. He nodded to that member of the Ghost Mark clan all of a sudden. I've dragged you guys out. If it's my mistake, I can put you back. Everything's fine then. Ha ha ha. The Ghost Mark clan's warrior laughed crazily. What the heck are you? Only you. Well, do you think you can seal us again? A human kid with his spirit realm cultivation base dares to have this idea. Haha. Funny. You're funny. Well then, I don't need to ask you for the information bit by bit like this. Nothing's interesting anyways. Shi Yin pondered for a while and then said, I remember your Ghost Mark clan has a soul technique called the Great Soul Search Technique. The smile on that man's face froze, turning into a great panic as he shouted in fear. You dare. Shi Yin shook his head and didn't answer him. He extended his arm, putting on that man's forehead, then closing his eyes. He sent his soul into that man's head. The Ghost Mark clan's warrior was struggling hard, but he stopped right away. Like a clog, he didn't have any vitality anymore as his sea of consciousness was grabbed and squeezed. Changes of the divine great land during this year turned into the tide of memory and slowly emerged in Shi Yin's brain fully. Chapter 609. Opportunity. Chapter 609. Opportunity. Not long after he had left the divine great land, the alien tribes with the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghost Mark clan, and the Corpse clan as their representatives had carried out their invasion to the forces in the divine great land. Shortly, the 7 ancient factions, including the Radiant God cult, were targeted. The pagans' invasion this time was fierce, with the participation of many true God Realm warriors. Yun Hao and the leader of the Pure Land weren't their opponents. They had to cooperate to retreat. An earth-shaking, bloody war washed over the divine Great Land. Forces everywhere were attacked, and many high-class human warriors fell. The powers of the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghost Mark clan, and the Corpse clan were imposingly beyond their estimation. Human warriors didn't know what to do. Their manpower was drained in battles as more and more warriors died every day. The Dead Souls Evil's lair of the Dark Spirit clan appeared everywhere. They could land all of a sudden in a random area. Right after that, warriors of the Dark Spirit clan would appear. Their force had caused the 7 ancient factions a significant loss. The Ghost Mark clan's members had soon recovered their energy. During the battles, the power of this clan slowly increased. After each battle, the power of the Ghost Mark clan's members would be enhanced, as if it had no limit. The Corpse clan was more dangerous. They couldn't die. Their rigid bodies gave human warriors a headache, like their heads were about to crack. The 5-element space on the Divine Great Land was the place the Corpse clan trained their bodies. It became their backyard, where they gathered, collected cultivating materials, and refining treasures. To human warriors, the 5-element space was a dangerous area. With only one wrong move, they would never return. However, members of the Corpse clan could stay in the 5-element space at ease. With the abundant cultivating materials there, they could refine armors and treasures. This boosted their general force to another big level. After the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghost Mark clan, and the Corpse clan, there appeared the Demon clan and the Monster clan. The Divine Great Land now had more races. Compared to the Endless Sea, they were stronger and more brutal. True God Realm warriors of the alien tribes appeared one by one, which completely snatched away the confidence of Yunhao's group. Massive retreat. The 7 ancient factions took the lead. Forces everywhere in the Divine Great Land started to gather and move towards the Martial Spirit Palace. They disappeared into the Martial Spirit Palace's territory. The alien tribes had searched through the Martial Spirit Palace's territory, but they couldn't find the warriors of the 7 ancient factions. However, many pagans had their bodies buried in this place. This kept the hotshots of the alien tribes from operating furthermore, and they didn't enter the area of the Martial Spirit Palace. The alien tribes were planning something. It seemed they were discussing a new plan to capture all the human hotshots at once. Shi Yin closed his eyes, putting one hand on the head of that warrior. He was using the great searching soul technique of the Ghost Mark clan to search through the man's memory. When flows of memory entered his brain, the member of the Ghost Mark clan gradually lost his living aura as his life came to an end. The great searching soul technique was a sinister technique of the Ghost Mark clan. It burned the victim's soul to generate the energy to draw the memory out of the victim's head. After the soul was burned out, most of the victims would die tragically. Some who survived would become retarded without memory. Retreating his hand, Shi Yin took a deep breath and put a little force on that man. Bang! A flow of surging energy struck the pagan's head, as though it was stirring something, making his head a mess of brain and blood. Right after the spirit realm hotshot of the Ghost Mark clan died, energy threads started to fly out of his body. All these entered Shi Yin's acupuncture points, leaving nothing behind. Shi Yin was struck as if he had swallowed a pill. The light in his eyes got brighter while his soul fluctuations became more robust. The development of the situation was beyond his imagination. He didn't think that the Divine Great Land's whole picture had become that fierce. He had thought that this place would be safer. However, after he got here, he came to know that the place was much more chaotic than the Endless Sea. Looking at the strange phenomenon where the sun, the moon, and the stars all appeared in the sky, Shi Yin was sentimental. All things that happened were because of him. The existence of the massive space crack had led to the great change of the power in heaven and earth that awakened many alien tribes. This gave the strong power to the creatures that shouldn't exist in this world. The Dark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, the Demon Clan, the Monster Clan, and the Ghost Mark Clan were the alien tribes that had disappeared for dozens of thousands of years. But now, they had escaped the foreign lands and returned to the Divine Great Land. This was the additional brushstroke for this long-term calamity. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Flows of light smoke exuded from his acupuncture points. Under the effect of the negative moods, Yin became hot-tempered. He suddenly had the mood to destroy everything. Thump, thump, thump. His heartbeat increased. His anger was like a scorching flame burning in his body. It was raising vehemently from time to time. Not good. His face changed. Yin knew that if it continued this way, he would lose control again and fall into bedevilment. As a second sky of Spirit Realm Warrior, he could easily receive the accumulated energy of the opponent with the condition that he had to keep his mind firm, and he must not let his spirit disorder. However, what that man said had stirred up the picture he didn't want to see. Thus, he became more sensitive. When the negative mood arose, he hadn't prepared yet. The negative mood then flooded his mind directly, breaking his reason. Phew, phew, phew. Yin panted heavily, and his face reddened. Sweat soaked him, with veins bulging out of his neck like some little worms. He looked terrible and fearsome. His muscles enlarged and shriveled from time to time. His body had a bizarre change. It looked like his change had stimulated the blood vein ring. The ring started to emit energy fluctuations, releasing a hazy red light, which was strange but beautiful. The energy in his acupuncture points wasn't controlled anymore. At first, it started to wreck his body. Gradually, it became more maniacal and couldn't be controlled. Afterward, it deluged to his arm towards the blood vein ring. The essence chi of his entire body blended with the soul that had reached the spirit realm, added with space power, shot out like an incomparable light. Light bloomed from the blood vein ring. Crack! Some firm barrier was shattered, turning into countless light spots, scattering everywhere. The space inside the blood vein ring expanded rapidly, and the spacious area was enlarged. Flows of memory turned into spiritual thoughts and started to imprint onto a deep place of his soul. Yin was struck severely. The blood-like light appeared in his eyes. The brutal mood eventually calmed down, and the murderous aura of his body started to settle. He stood there, using his soul to sense the thoughts in his head. He flipped between the imprints in his soul to search. Found him. 3 spirit realm warriors of the Ghost Mark clan stood outside the northern cold city, their appearance cold. They were holding a strange, magical silver ball, laughing out loud. Rays of light appeared densely like the willow catkin. They vaguely marked the location of the northern cold city. Kelly is dead, a man with countless portrayed lines on his face said. His aura was like that of a snake, cold and evil. Keller, no matter who the opponent is, we will capture him. We will take revenge for your brother, said a member of the Ghost Mark clan firmly. The hotshot of the Ghost Mark clan called Keller had the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base. He was really strong among the 3. He was like rigid ice in an extremely cold place, which gave people an annoying feeling. I want his soul to be tortured for thousands of years. Keller gritted his teeth, his face pale. Abruptly, he dashed towards the northern cold city. A wide sword made of the extremely cold iron released a cold halo of metal while shooting out loudly, dragging a long light tail in the air, which was strangely beautiful. The extremely cold iron was the rare product of the Ghost Mark clan's secret territory. Each block was more than 10,000 jin, carrying the cold and the yin-chi of the iron, which could get into people's bones and marrows. This material was really intimidating. The broadsword flew in the air, and shortly, it arrived above Yin's head. Without giving time for Yin to react, the broadsword slashed down directly, making a sharp whistle. Yin was still sinking in some strange realm, and he looked like he was studying that realm. Hearing the whistle, Yin instinctively swung his arms. Death and Life Seal. With the Death Intent domain as the foundation of energy, seals piled up in the air. The Death Intent domain expanded, covering his body. The sharp tip of the broadsword collided with the Death and Life Seal. It tilted and couldn't slash down vertically. At this moment, Yin suddenly opened his eyes and then snorted. The blood vein ring on his finger flashed, and the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword emerged. He didn't give Keller more chances. Eyes on the Sky Destroyer opened one by one. By the time 1/3 of the eyes opened, a crazy, murderous aura bloomed out from Yin as the core. The Sky Destroyer Divine Sword had turned into a surging blood sea, which held an endless murderous aura, covering Keller's wide sword, which was made of the extremely cold iron. This blood sea washed the energy Keller had poured into the sword completely. Courting death. The two members of the Ghost Mark clan, who arrived together with Keller, couldn't hold their laughter. They then performed the secret technique of the Ghost Mark clan. One was on the left, and the other was on the right. Their soul energies fused, creating a ghost his soul sword, thrusting towards Shi Yan's host soul. Get out! Shi Yan squinted, using his soul to call the inner world 5 devils. The 5 devils turned into 5 gray silhouettes and flew out from his sea of consciousness. Shortly, they caught that ghost his soul sword. The 5 devils used force, grasped the soul sword and pulled it in 5 different directions. Shortly, the soul sword was divided into 5 pieces. The souls of Keller's team shuddered. They sprayed out blood at the same time. Apparently, they all got hurt. Well, the 3 of you, I couldn't ask for anything better. I will use your deaths to enter the new realm. Shi Yan felt the essence chi in his body was 1 grade lower than required. He sneered and then released the war devil. At the same time, he urged the negative energy. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame appeared on his shoulders respectively as he started his slaughter. He knew that after he killed these 3, he could use their essence chi to reach the second sky of spirit realm. His soul's realm had crossed the bottleneck beforehand. Chapter 610, Bao Ao. Chapter 610, Bao Ao. Keller had the 3rd sky of spirit realm cultivation base, which ordinary warriors would find hard to deal with. Members of the Ghost Mark clan had accumulated their attainment for dozens of thousands of years. They had a varied experience in fighting. The clansmen were innate fighters with magical martial spirits. At the same time, their understanding of soul Upanishads was more profound than the others. Keller's realm could subdue Shi Yan. According to common sense, it shouldn't have been so strenuous for him to kill Shi Yan. However, when he really did that, he got to know things were never as they seemed. When Shi Yan used the Rampage Realm's ability, his power would accelerate massively. His body, which was refined with the golden marrow of the giant, had become even more tenacious. At this moment, he was at the non-human monster level. His sturdy body, accompanied by the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame, was more dangerous, especially with the magical recovery ability. Adding the unknown sword, his power was enough to provoke warriors at higher realms. Bang! The blood halo of the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword flashed. The extremely cold iron broadsword Keller had flung away was blocked, deviated into a curved trajectory. Keller's soul trembled. He put forth everything to deal with the inner world 5 devils, and didn't have the extra force to enhance the power of the broadsword. When Keller wanted to retrieve the flying broadsword, he found it was too late. He could only keep his mind and spirit to prevent the 5 devils from eroding his soul. It's you who courts death. Don't blame me. Shi Yan wore a ruthless countenance. He asked the ice-cold flame and the earth flame to find the chance and kill him. At the moment he was sinking in that magical intent domain, he had some images carved into his head, his memory. However, they were scattered and disordered. If he couldn't reorder those images, he couldn't know what situation it was. Vaguely, he knew that if he could understand those images in his head, he could know the profile of the blood vein ring's previous owner. Those images didn't bring any technique or power, but a mournful aura of the old times. That aura stormed directly into his heart, which made his soul resonate altogether. Those images seemed to picture the most glorious experience of one's life. However, Keller's team had attacked him maliciously without saying a word, while Shi Yan hadn't had enough time to understand them thoroughly. From the Radiant God Cult to the wonderful Stone City and the Northern Cold City, Shi Yan had observed many tragic scenes. Human bodies were everywhere in the cities. Many of them had a pathetic death, and Shi Yan couldn't endure the sight. Everything was because of the pagans. The massacre in the Spirit Treasure Sect's territory was created by the Ghost Mark clan. At this moment, he had no good feeling or mercy towards the Ghost Mark clan. He just wanted to kill them all. Kill him for me. Keller spat out blood while shouting, Do not use soul power. This man's familiar with our clan's soul technique. The 5 devils are tough, too. As the 5 devils were entangling them, Keller and the other 2 couldn't endure. They had to spend a part of their power to deal with the inner world 5 devils. Shi Yin was emotionless, his eyes as cold as a saber. He held the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword while gazing at Keller. Shi Yin then performed the mysterious sword martial techniques. Beams of light shot out like meteors, swooshing over their heads like a raging storm. The war devil with its heavy armor was like a steel tank, as it rumblingly crushed over, attacking the other 2 from Keller's team. The 2 Ghost Mark Clan's clansmen were struggling hard under the war devil's attacks. The mysterious soul techniques they knew had no effect on the war devil. Seizing the chance, the ice-cold flame and the earth flame discreetly took action. The freezing flame and the scorching halo flew out from the dark, hurting the other 2 instantly. At first, the ice-cold flame sealed them. While they felt the extremely cold temperature, blazing light entangled them, intruding their body and burning their internal organs. The war devil barged in like a collapsing iron mountain while they were screaming painfully. Under this severe impact, their bones fractured right at the spot. 2 souls scattered. Shi Yin beamed a faint smile, throwing the soul-gathering pearl to capture those 2 souls. He turned to Keller and shouted, "Don't let him run away." While he was shouting, his soul energy had turned into the simple space blades, attacking Keller's sea of consciousness. Each flow of his soul had been added with space power. Once he made an attack, it would turn into a simple space blade. Although it couldn't mince the opponent's sea of consciousness, it could steal the sensation of the opponent's sea of consciousness for a while. Keller's sea of consciousness was intruded. He seemed as if struck by the body-fixed technique, his eyes dull. The 3 attacking spears, War Devil, Ice Cold Flame, and Earth Flame took the chance and froze Keller's body instantly. Then, under the heavy pressure, Keller broke into countless pieces. The soul-gathering pearl took Keller's soul while his essence chi flew out, entering Shi Yin's body. Shi Yin was struck all of a sudden as he felt the surging energy was flooding his body. He assigned the War Devil, the Ice-Cold Flame, and the Earth Flame before sitting down cross-legged. He didn't bother with the location, just calmed down his mind to cultivate, refining the negative energy to produce the mysterious, strange power. During this process, the blurred images in his head became clearer, starting to flash in his head. His eyes were as bright as diamonds. He was condensing his energy while paying attention to the magical images in his head. He wanted to reorder those images to know what had happened after all. Thick, dark clouds from the horizon drifted in the sky of the northern cold city, covering the sun. A demonic dragon which was more than hundreds of meters long was meandering inside the dark clouds. This demonic dragon was covered with black scales that looked to be made of black iron. The dragon had a pair of curly horns, with a massive, ominous aura. A man in his 30s was sitting upright on the head of the demonic dragon. He had long black hair draped over his shoulder and looked handsome in a gray robe. He was imposingly majestic. A strange triangle mark lied in the center of his forehead, shimmering with an evil, gloomy halo. It was like that middle-aged man riding the demonic dragon had passed the northern cold city by chance. His pair of dark eyes that didn't have any light squinted as he was looking ahead of him nonchalantly. All of a sudden, the demonic dragon roared rumblingly as it started to descend from 10,000 meters in the sky. The majestic man sitting on the demonic dragon's neck was surprised. He knitted his beautiful eyebrows and scooped down to observe the situation on the ground. At first glance, he saw the black iron war devil. The man was terrified and emotional. Astonishment flooded his deep pupils as he muttered to himself, using the dark chi to quench the antiquity time. Fighting puppet war devil is the technique that only the demon clan's precursors know. Strange. Have our clan's precursors come back from the foreign land? He mumbled, then let the demonic dragon hover in the sky so he could watch the situation down there. Behind the demonic dragon were thousands of demonic beasts of the demon area, lining up neatly. Each demonic beast carried a hotshot of the demon clan, who had at least the Sky Realm cultivation base. Among them, there were more than 10 warriors at the spirit realm, and 2 more true God Realm experts. The formation of the demonic beasts of the demon area maintained a distance from the demonic dragon that led them. When they found the demonic dragon had stopped, several thousand demonic beasts had halted silently behind it. A heavy pressure like a mountain diffused from the hotshots of the demon clan. Why has Master Bao Ao stopped here? Sitting on a dragon beast of the demon area was a tall and muscular scarred man. He was almost 3 meters tall, and a python wound around his waist. He had just spoken loudly to the others. As he had the black scale armor on his body, people could recognize that he was the member of the Black Scale clan. His aura was brutal and murderous. Certainly, Master Bao Ao has found something, said an elegant woman. She was wearing male costumes, holding a pretty maid of the night charming race in her lap. They were riding a level 8 7-headed black brilliance bird. She laughed and then talked to the muscular man next to her. Good to see. Later on when we arrive at the Ghost Mark clan, if you see the young girls of the Ghost Mark clan, help me ask if they sell them, okay? While the woman was talking, a thorny tail extended under her long white dress. Bo Rua, we come to the Ghost Mark clan to discuss how to uproot the humans. The muscular man of the Black Scale clan was called Gu De Si. Scars on his face twisted like a bunch of worms as he grinned fiendishly. Young maids of the human race have the softest body. They aren't as rough as our demon clan. I love them the most. You're disgusting. Bo Rua glared at him begrudgingly. You butcher, you're wasting the world's treasures. If you see them, remember to let me taste first. Once I'm done with them, you can eat them. You are disgusting. Gu De Si snorted, his face disdainful. Well, the women you've touched are so dirty. If anyone eats them, he will puke out for the rest of his life. Get lost. Bo Rua's voice was like an arrow shooting towards Gu De Si. Motherf ****, here she goes again. The tall man shouted indignantly. He jolted up to counter the attack, rubbing his fists and jumping up. Black scales rose on his body, making the sound like the wind blowing through pine tree forest, which had stirred up the energy of heaven and earth. More than 10 experts at the spirit realm stayed behind them. They were sitting neatly with a serious countenance. They seemed not to bother with the fight in front of them, but the beasts they rode were moving away discreetly, as if they were afraid of getting involved. In the front of the formation, the handsome middle-aged man was standing on the 100-meter-long dragon, looking at the northern cold city under his feet. His gloomy pupils gradually rested on Shi Yin. A tiny beam of surprise sparkled deep inside his pupils. He looked at the 5 gray shadows, couldn't help but hold his forehead and groan. He let out a light shout as if he were insane. The one who controls the 5 great negative emotions, the Antiquity Demogorgon. Damn it, what's going on? Bao Aog, that kid has space power in his sea of consciousness. The demonic dragon sent him its thought. Space power? The middle-aged man was startled. Then he revealed his astonishment. Is it? The great change that has divided spaces is because of this kid? Suddenly, the man laughed out loud. Interesting. I didn't expect to see the ringleader this time. It's interesting indeed. Then, he jumped off the demonic dragon, deliberately walking in the void towards the man in the corner of the northern cold city with a smiling face. Chapter 611. The Ancient Bao Family. Chapter 611. The Ancient Bao Family. Shi Yin sat emotionlessly as magical and mysterious images crossed his head as fast as lightning. Most of them were about the Great Fierce Wars. During the wars, Shi Yin saw the ancient clans including the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghost Mark clan, and the Giant clan. Members of these alien clans projected in the images all had earth-shaking power. They could smash an entire mountain with only one strike, leaving a 100-meter-deep ditch on the ground. However, those images weren't continual. It was hard to reorder them precisely. In his head, every image came with the unceasingly rumbling thunder. Closing his eyes, Shi Yin tried to arrange some images, but he found that it was too difficult to do that. He couldn't restore their original sequence. During this process, it seemed some seal had been unlocked in this world. Some scattered memoirs in heaven and earth had turned into flows of ancient soul fluctuation, pouring in him. Gradually, a vague mark had formed at his glabella. 5 pentagonal blood clouds appeared. The 5 clusters of blood-red cloud were like an ancient mark or some family crest imprinted at his glabella. Blood halo bloomed gloriously, giving people a feeling of something both beautiful and savage. He didn't know what was happening to him. Shi Yin still sat neatly on the ground as he was watching some magical images detaching from his head and poured into the mark. After receiving some images, the ancient mark got clearer and more complete. This gave him a new strange aura. A middle-aged man walked toward him with hands clasping behind his back. He stopped around 100 meters away from Shi Yin, smiling until his eyes squinted. The war devil suddenly reacted. From deep inside its empty pear, a black, evil light shot out, furious as if it could swallow the bright light. The 5 gray shadows that were winding around him all reacted. They buzzed, sending their soul fluctuations as they were anxious, placing their attention on that middle-aged man. That strange middle-aged man also had a triangle mark on his forehead, which became clearer at this moment. Ha ha, interesting indeed, so interesting. Bao Ao mumbled to himself. The smile on his face became warmer. He felt happier and even more excited, rubbing his hands like a child seeing the toy he had been yearning for. The middle-aged man couldn't control his joy. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame flew on Shi Yan's left and right shoulders. Their flames were flickering indefinitely. They couldn't relax. 3 fierce flows of soul fluctuation stormed into the deep place inside Shi Yan's soul. His host's soul trembled violently, then woke up. Some magical images in his head flew and merged into the strange blood cloud on his glabella. He couldn't reorder them, so he felt a little bit regret. He didn't know he had a mysterious mark on his forehead now. Sinking in the loss, he shook his head, then opened his eyes, shouting using his soul. "What are you doing?" The inner world 5 devils, the earth flame, and the ice-cold flame sent him their thoughts rapidly together with the alarming fluctuation. Shi Yin shuddered. He utterly woke up now. His pupils shrank as his aura bloomed out fiercely. He glared at the middle-aged man standing opposite to him. Pores in his entire body opened. Flows of negative energy that looked like real pallid tentacles emerged from his pores and acupuncture points. Shi Yin seemed to turn into a strange demon with many pale tentacles covering his body. Each tentacle was around 2 meters long, with the brutal negative energy. They were moving like octopus tentacles around him. He immediately knew that his negative energy had condensed to the ultimate level, turning from the air form to a more solid form. His power was increasing robustly. Each tentacle connected to one of his acupuncture points. 720 tentacles were spreading all over his body, which gave him a magical feeling. It seemed these tentacles were parts of his body, carrying the strange, mysterious power. This was the performance of the Rampage Upanishads, which had promoted the negative energy of his entire body. When he calmed down his mind, the tentacles shrank and retreated into his acupuncture points, returning to the pure negative energy. At the same time, the sea of consciousness in his brain was shaken. Shi Yin sensed and found that his essence chi ancient tree had grown twice. His eyes sparkled. Abruptly, he knew that he had entered the second sky of spirit realm from the first sky of spirit realm unknowingly. His sea of consciousness expanded, and his soul was finer. Together with his mind and spirit, they had a magical union. His flesh and blood also had a mighty strength. Level up? Congratulations, little brother. Bao Ao smiled quietly. He strolled towards Shi Yin without caring about the gaze of the war devil, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame. He looked quite casual and at ease. Shi Yin felt tense. The Sky Destroyer Divine Sword emerged from thin air and gradually appeared in his palm. Who are you? Shi Yin couldn't sense any kind of energy from that man. At the second sky of spirit realm, Shi Yan's soul consciousness couldn't sense the aura of the other. In his cognition, the man standing in front of him seemed not to exist. He had experienced this feeling when facing Yun Hao. He immediately knew that the one standing opposite to him was an existence at Yun Hao's level. He was even more dangerous than Yun Hao. Who am I? Bao Ao burst out laughing. He shook his head and then said, "Seems you little brother hasn't received the inheritance yet. Yeah, we aren't hurried. Just take your time. Little brother, you will receive more memory seals. At that time, you can try to sense the wonderful connection between you and me." Shi Yin was stunned. He had no clue. He realized that he didn't understand the words that came out of the other's mouth. It seemed the other had known about him, but he couldn't sense that man's realm or anything else. Seeing Bao Ao walking towards him, Shi Yin tried his best to adjust the aura. Flows of pure essence, Qi grumblingly overflowed the Sky Destroyer divine sword in his hand. "Don't be tense. I mean no harm." Bao Ao threw his arms into the air and laughed. His voice was soft that could comfort people. "If I had bad intentions, well, even if there were 100 of you here, all of you would be dead." Shi Yin discolored. "Well, I told you not to be tense. See, you're getting tense again," laughed Bao Ao. While he was talking, he arrived in front of Shi Yin. The man stopped while his deep dark eyes were scanning Shi Yin. He nodded and then smiled. "I was just passing by and saw you were breaking through your realm. I was suddenly interested in it, so I came to see. I don't have other intentions." Shi Yin didn't answer. He was trying to guess the other's identity. Warriors who had this realm weren't someone not famous in the divine Great Land. Perhaps he had the same realm as Yun Hao. Was he the master of the martial spirit palace? Perhaps? The master of the spirit treasure sect? "Little brother, this one is for you. Later on, if you can't live with humans anymore, come to me." Bao Ao patted his head as if he had just recalled something. His slender index finger touched his forehead. The strange triangle mark suddenly glowed, as a dark gold token flew out from his mark. That small token wasn't made of gold or jade. It was a whole intact plaque covered in ancient symbols. The simple curves on the token interlinked, giving people a strange but evil feeling. That small token had a triangular shape, similar to the mark on that man's forehead. However, it was a real token. This token looked like it had a life. It didn't wait for Shi Yin to receive it, moving directly to his forehead. However, that small token trembled as if it were wiped away right before it could touch the mark on Shi Yin's glabella. The smile on Bao Ao's face widened, as if he had predicted the event before. He laughed and then touched the small token in the air. Afterward, the token quit entering the mark on Shi Yin's forehead, but stuck on his neck, just like a leech clutching on the skin under his right ear. A triangle mark glowed, sparkling along with Shi Yin's changing energy. When Shi Yin gathered himself together again and didn't urge his power, the mark dimmed and faded out, as though it had sunk into his skin. A cold feeling of cold jade spread from his neck. Shi Yin discolored. He was more frightened. "What have you done to me?" Shi Yin released his soul consciousness to sense. Right when he touched the token, the energy in the token had stirred it up. Shi Yin couldn't see the situation inside the small token or what kind of restraint it was. Shi Yin was distraught. A token was integrated into his body. He felt that he was enslaved already. This feeling irritated him a lot. However, he didn't dare to provoke the other. Even though that middle-aged man didn't reveal any dangerous intention, Shi Yin had a premonition that if that man wanted his life, he couldn't do anything to resist. Bao Ao laughed while watching his reaction. It seemed he found it interesting to watch Shi Yin in panic. "Don't be scared. Haha, I just want good things for you. You'll get it later." Bao Ao contemplated for a while, and then pointed at Shi Yin's forehead, reminding him, "Be careful. You'd better not let anyone else see this mark, especially the human experts. Haha, or else, you will become the common enemy of the entire humanity. Yeah, that's it. You should deal with it. If you can't live with humans anymore, remember to find me. I am Bao Ao. If you want to find me, you just need to put your soul thought into that token. I'll get it immediately." Bao Ao smiled, waving his hand frankly. "Do your best." After that, Bao Ao slowly ascended into the air. Under Shi Yin's attentive look, he walked towards the demonic dragon hovering thousands of meters in the void. Humanity, Shi Yin was suddenly struck with fear. He shouted, "Are you pagan?" "I'm from the demon clan." Bao Ao from the ancient Bao family. Each family with the name ancient has at least 100,000 years of inheritance. Bao Ao beamed a faint smile as he sat on the demonic dragon and left with a big laughter. When Bao Ao started to move, all the terrifying demonic beasts of the demon area behind him slowly appeared from the clouds. This great formation was moving towards the shady firmament old mound. Shi Yin could vaguely see the fearful hotshots with different appearance of the demon clan riding those giant demonic beasts. They were all looking at him with astonishment. Shi Yin was stupefied like a wooden rooster, his body cold. Chapter 612, Ancient Mark. Chapter 612, Ancient Mark. After Bao Ao had left the northern cold city and got back to his dragon, the two true God realm experts of the demon clan Gu Desi and Bo Rual walked to him with suspicions. Master Bao Ao, who is that kid? He's just a human. Why didn't you kill him? Gu Desi felt puzzled. Bo Rua's beautiful eyes sparkled. Haha, he has the bloodline of our demon clan. He's the one who has received the inheritance of the oldest family in our demon clan. Bao Ao beamed a faint smile. That kid's really interesting. When he grows up, he'll be really dangerous. If his inheritance awakens, human beings won't receive him anymore. Sooner or later, he will belong to our side. Why did he have the oldest inheritance of the demonic clan? Gu Desi was surprised. Members of the human clan have their blood mixed with many other clans. This isn't a surprise. Bao Ao was patient to explain. If it weren't because of that, this race wouldn't have occupied this continent for so many years. The bloodline of the human clan is the worst. But this clan has the ability to adapt well to other races. Their bloodline can blend with almost every other race. Through this kind of breeding, this race could develop further. Isn't it our purpose to kill them all? Bo Rua chuckled. Even if their bloodline is mixed, their power is still much less than ours. Many martial techniques and power Upanishads are lost. Don't underestimate them. Bao Ao was serious, his face grim. In the war that year, if we hadn't underestimated them, we wouldn't have had such a great defeat. This race has a tremendous adaptive faculty. As long as we give them time to cultivate, they can burst out their energy, which can terrify everybody. Gu Desi and Bo Rua listened to him, but their faces were still disdainful. Apparently, they didn't keep Bao Ao's words in their minds. Bao Ao sighed in his heart, not wanting to talk more. He also knew that the human clan was weaker. Otherwise, they couldn't be swept away shortly like that. Now they could only try to retreat their heads and hold the last breath. Let's go. We should get to the shady firmament old mound first. We need to check if we can bring more members out of there. Sigh. It's been so many years. Actually, the survivors of our clan aren't many. We just have to try our best. Gu Desi and Ba Rual were also emotional. They didn't talk more and just continued their journey. Shi Yin looked at the herd of demon area's demonic beasts gliding above his head. He felt as cold as ice. The power this clan showed off at this moment was enough to destroy any of the 7 ancient factions in the divine Great Land. Even if the Radiant God Cult and the Pure Land joined hands, being destroyed was their only final result. The real competence of the Demon Clan shouldn't be that simple. Besides the Demon Clan, the Divine Great Land now had the Ghost Mark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, the Corpse Clan, the Dark Clan, and the Monster Clan. It wasn't easy for them to survive until this moment. Once they could fully restore their power, it wasn't something the human clan could resist. Shi Yin suddenly had the premonition that the humanity's apocalypse was about to come. Touching the mark on his neck, Shi Yin felt distressed. He couldn't erase it. He had unknowingly received a mark on his body, which gave him an irritated feeling, making him nervous. He didn't know whether the man called Bao Ao could lock him in some corner using this mark, or if he could bring him to death at any minute. It was like a person who had gotten the seed of death in his body. When his opponent wanted him to die, he just needed to flicker his thought, and Shi Yin would die a tragic death. As he was restrained, a devil barrier would arise in his heart, which would affect his cultivation later. This could always scare his spirit and mind, and his level-up process would be hindered from now on. The cold energy moved in his palm as an ice mirror emerged. Glaring at the mirror, he immediately saw the blood could mark on his glabella. The mark was shimmering with blood halo, giving him a brutal, bloody aura. This was an ancient mark, the mark that only the oldest family of the demon clan could have. The mark was the sign that someone belonged to a family. Through this mark, they could receive the inheritance of the family. He didn't need anybody to remind him to know that the blood vein ring and his transformation in the blood pond related to a strong expert of the ancient demon clan in the antiquity time. I must erase this mark. He took a deep breath, then sit down neatly, trying to use different methods to wipe out the mark at his glabella. After a long time, he quit helplessly. That mark had become part of his soul. No matter what he did, he couldn't wipe it away. He had even cut off the skin on his forehead. When the immortal martial spirit restored his skin, the mark was still there visibly. He had tried continually, and he understood that this mark wouldn't fade away shortly. Begrudgingly, he could only wear a black band on his head to cover the mark. The ancient mark brought the inheritance of an ancient family of the demon clan. This meant he was half demon. All of a sudden, he felt puzzled, not knowing where he was heading. He was hesitant, and didn't know whether he should go to the martial spirit palace or not. Shi Yin frowned, thinking about his family and friends in the Shi family and the Yang family. Everything he had experienced flashed once again in his head. Shi Jin, who had always protected him, the Yang family's hope, and Xia Xian Yin. Gradually, his eyes became determined. His uneasy spirit was calibrated as he adjusted his direction one more time. Leaving the mark on his neck aside, Shi Yin pondered and restarted his journey, walking towards the martial spirit palace. However, he was more careful, as he intended to avoid the areas where the pagans could gather. His journey was safe this time. 10 days had passed as fast as lightning. Finally, Shi Yin arrived at the martial spirit palace's territory. Similar to the Radiant God cult and the Spirit Treasure sect, the martial spirit palace's land was filled with the heavy pressure of death. Many civil kingdoms had depended on the martial spirit palace. Now, their cities were all empty. Shi Yin released his soul consciousness to check, but he couldn't detect any living fluctuations. However, he was glad that he didn't see many terrifying scenes in the territory of the martial spirit palace. As he had watched so many tragic scenes, he couldn't help but curse. As the martial spirit palace had soon prepared, they had gathered the members of human clan everywhere in the entire territory and hid in some corner to survive. After 2 days, he arrived at the famous perpetual night forest of the divine Great Land. The perpetual night forest was situated in the martial spirit palaces. Big trees towered the ground, some of them as big as a mountain, which had been growing for 10,000 years. The reason why this forest was called perpetual night was because of the dense ancient trees here. Their branches were too thick, so they blocked the sunlight from the sky. This forest didn't receive the sunlight year-round, and it always looked as dark as night. Currently, the sun, moon, and stars had all appeared in the sky of the divine Great Land, and there was no night anymore. Regions in the continent were always illuminated. Only the perpetual night forest remained in its original state. All the natural light was blocked. Even the sun and the moon in the sky couldn't fill this forest with light. Walking through the perpetual night forest and looking at the thick leaves and branches and above his head, Shi Yin got to know the meaning of the forest's name. Indeed, there was no light in this forest. The entire place was gloomy. Only some tiny beams of strong sunlight could reach the ground, but it was very scarce. In this wet and dark forest, there were many translucent streams and lakes. Fishes there looked fat and delicious. Also, the air in the forest was fresh, which could reinvigorate people. In his knowledge, the perpetual night forest was the largest area in the martial spirit palace's territory. It was situated on an area of millions of miles squared. It would take years to cross through this forest. Many mysteries hid inside this forest. People could see the ruins of ancient temples and graves here and there in the forest. Many experts, who decided to have a secluded life, had chosen to stay in the perpetual night forest, which had abundant cultivating materials' spiritual aura. Living in this forest, they didn't need to worry about the cultivating materials. After one day and one night of walking in the perpetual night forest, Yin hadn't sensed any aura of living creatures. He hadn't met any human or beast. A forest should have a vibrant atmosphere, but the ambience here was heavy, which made people feel uncomfortable. All of a sudden, he smelled the scent of blood. As his thought flickered, his body moved swiftly like an electric current. Instantly, he had crossed 1,000 meters forward and then halted by a pool. The pool wasn't big, towered by many 100-meter-tall ancient trees. Dead bodies scattered around the pool. The clean pool water was now dyed red by the blood. Yan's face became cold and dark. The dead bodies by the pool were the members of the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan. These two clans had submitted to him, deeming him their master. At least 100 pagans were slaughtered. Moreover, their bodies were torn into pieces. The opponent's action was savagely brutal. He suddenly recalled something terrible. How had the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan been? Returning to the past, perhaps the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan had been in the divine Great Land. However, after the great change of heaven and earth, alien races had depended on the Ghost Mark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, and the Demon Clan to slaughter humans. Wherever they went through, they left people in miseries. Human Clan should be filled with resentment. The demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan should be safe if they went with the other alien tribes. However, they were with the Yang family. Members of the Yang family had used the teleportation formation to go to the northern Gem Mountain in the Radiant God cult. Had Yun Hao, the master of the Radiant God cult, accepted them? At the moment the alien tribes were massacring humans, would the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan be the targets to vent out their anger? Although Yun Hao could give him face to not attack them, how about the others? Would the Pure Land, the Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Martial Spirit Palace leave them alone? The demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan had become the pagans that could join any side. In the eyes of the alien clans, they were betrayers. To humanity, they were the aliens who deserved death. Arriving at this thought, Yin felt chilled. He could almost confirm that the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan on his side had become the most pathetic force in the divine Great Land. Both the alien tribes and the mankind would aim at them. His face darkened. He pressed down the worries in his heart and continued to move through the perpetual night forest. It had been 3 days, and he had met many places where dead bodies piled up. Without a single exception, they were all the members of the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan. Dishan and Etianimo should have met a big purge. Perhaps even Dishan and Etianimo got killed. The realm of Dishan's group wasn't bad in the Endless Sea, but in this divine Great Land, compared to the true God realm experts like Yun Hao, they were nothing. Yan's face became darker. He couldn't wash away the shame in his heart. This was the first time he had the thought of being responsible for a race. He had to save them. Chapter 613, Blood Animosity. Chapter 613, Blood Animosity. The perpetual night forest was a spacious area several million miles squared. This place was shady year-round. Demonic beasts swaggered here and there. After several days of walking in the forest, Yin found more dead bodies of the Dark Devil Clan and the Winged Clan. Moreover, he saw many signs of deaths, which belonged to the Yang family's warriors. Along the way, his heart sank deeper as he suffered a big sorrow. Yin had thought that he didn't need to care about the great change of the Grace mainland, and he just needed to protect his family, saving them from harm. But now he knew how funny his idea was. The whole continent was sinking in a great tsunami. Pagans were slaughtering and robbing everywhere. Who was lucky enough to escape this calamity? All of a sudden, he felt a strong soul fluctuation in his sea of consciousness. Yin accelerated, dashing at his max speed toward the east. Boom! His energy exploded everywhere. On his way, all the flora was crushed. Level 3 and Level 4 demonic beasts along his way scattered disorderly when they sensed his intimidating aura. Yin halted. 3 Level 7 demonic beasts were surrounding 10 members of the Dark Devil Clan by a swamp. The leader of this group had only the 3rd sky of Nirvana realm. He was wounded badly. Blood was gushing out from one of his arms. The 3 level 7 beasts included a one-horned rhino, a jasper spider, and an 8-legged blue blood frog. They all had intellect with quick moves. This group of 10 clansmen of the Dark Devil clan couldn't resist anymore, obviously. If no one helped them, they would perish soon. Emu paled, looking at his fellows falling one by one. Hatred overflowed his heart. He regretted that his competence wasn't enough to take revenge for his fellows. Looking at the dismembered bodies, he was about to get crazy. The jasper spider looked like a round object. Its legs sparkled with a cold, blue light. Every time they stomped on the ground, they dug a deep hole. The jasper spider was like an experienced hunter. It wasn't hurried as it was slowly weaving a web. This arachnid wanted to capture Emu's group alive and then eat their brains little by little. This beast was smart. It knew that the human brain tasted best when they were alive, so it didn't rush. First, it would drain Emu's group, then it could slowly enjoy the fine food. When the energy of heaven and earth changed, demonic beasts in the Grace mainland seemed to gain intellect as well. The genuine beasts were now all cunning. Apparently, they formed the so-called monster clan. When the beasts reached level 7, not only their wisdom increased, but they also gained some magical cultivating techniques of the monster clan. This would enhance their power on a massive scale. Vaguely, they had become the official members of the monster clan. Swoosh! Shi Yan's figure halted in between the 3 beasts while a murderous aura diffused from him. Demonic beasts at level 7 all had wisdom. They showed that they were scared of Shi Yan's imposing aura when they just sensed it. The beasts retreated quickly. Wee-hoo-hoo. These beasts had used the strange whistling to communicate. 3 beasts scattered, moving to 3 different directions as they wanted to flee away from this man as far as possible. Young Master Yin. Emu's eyes seemed to rupture, sparkling with a strange light as he couldn't help but shout. This man was Tian Mo's nephew, so he had met Shi Yin several times. At the most critical time, he almost burst into tears on seeing Shi Yin. Shi Yan's countenance was cold. He didn't say anything. His mind flickered as he released the war devil, assigning it to kill. The war devil was like a steel and iron war chariot, barging rumblingly and moving directly towards the jasper spider. The web the jasper spider had weaved was smashed. The war devil wildly stomped his 10,000 June foot on the jasper spider. Its heavy foot pierced through the spider. The war devil turned around, dashing towards the other 2 beasts. Shi Yin didn't watch the battle. He came to Emo, who was bleeding badly, took out a jade bottle and gave it to him. Swallow them. 3 pills for each of you. Sit down and restore yourself now. It was the great original chi pellet he had exchanged in the Spirit Potion Valley. It was considered a rare spiritual medicine in the divine Great Land to nurture the body and restore the warrior's spirit, mind, and soul. Tears lingered in Emu's eyes. He didn't talk more, nodded, and swallowed 3 pills. Then, he handed the remaining pills to the other fellows. 13 members of the Dark Devil clan received 3 pills each. As Shi Yin had advised them, they sat down and started to adjust their bodies to recover their wounds. Shi Yin watched here and there. He found 5 bodies of the Dark Devil clan around 1,000 meters away from them. All were ripped apart and headless. The beasts must have eaten them. Shi Yin sighed in his heart, his face sad. He knew he was 1 step late. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the war devil stomping arose not far from them. After 10 seconds, that noise stopped. Shi Yin knew the other 2 beasts were killed. Shortly, the war devil came back. Its armor covered its steel body perfectly, without a blood stain. The war devil stopped next to him. There was no light in its empty eyes as though it was a dead thing. Shi Yin also stood stupefied, waiting in silence while his heart was chilled. After 1 hour, Emu had restored. He was the first one to wake up. He kneeled down in front of Shi Yin, choking with sobs. There are not more than 1/3 folks left in our clan. It's the same with the Winged clan. Since we've come to the divine Great Land, we have always been running. We hide everywhere. We just want to survive. Shi Yan's face was furious. He gritted his teeth and nodded. After all, what's happened? Where are Etianimo and the others? Our general and the others are also in the perpetual night forest. They are hiding. At this moment, they have cut the soul connection using a barrier to prevent stealth operation. Tears rolled down Imu's face, his eyes bloodshot. The number of our members who died in the hands of the 7 ancient factions is more than the number that the beasts have killed. Young Master Yin, you have to take revenge for us. 7 ancient factions? A drop of dark red blood trickled from the corner of Shi Yan's mouth, as if it was the tear of the devil in hell. He thundered, "What's happened after all?" When we had just arrived in the divine Great Land, the Radiant God cult treated us not too badly. The cult master had come to the northern Gem Mountain to feast with the Yang family's head. However, not long after that, the alien tribes started their invasion. They massacred in every corner of the divine Great Land. Imu was on his knees as he explained with a resentful tone. The 7 ancient factions couldn't resist the savage attack. They joined hands and moved to the general direction of the Martial Spirit Palace. We heard that the Martial Spirit Palace had a secret domain that they could get in and hide away from the pagan slaughter. At that time, we went with the disciples of the Radiant God cult. But when we arrived in the Martial Spirit Palace's territory, meeting up with the other factions of the 7 ancient factions, everything changed. Except for the Radiant God cult, the other 6 factions wanted to kill us all when they saw the Wing clan and our clan. Master Yuan, how of the Radiant God cult couldn't stop that. He couldn't help but let us detach from their formation. We had no choice but to come to the perpetual night forest to hide. Not long afterward, the other factions started to ambush and kill us. There are level 9 demonic beasts here. The other beasts also have intellect. They know how to besiege and kill us. In this place, both the beasts and humanity want to kill us. It's just been half a year, and we have already borne a significant loss. Where is the Yang family? Did they go with you guys? Shi Yan's countenance changed, asking coldly. They're here too. Tears filled Imu's face. The Yang family's head is a good man. Right at the beginning, he had tried to protect us. Unfortunately, the Yang head isn't so strong in the divine Great Land. Currently, the Yang family stays with us in this perpetual night forest. But the 3 gods sect and the Xia family, who had come to the divine Great Land with us, have officially become the members of the 7 ancient factions. When the secret domain opened, the head of the Yangs refused to go there. He brought a part of the Yang family and the Shi family to go with our clan and the Wing clan. Sigh. The head of the Yang family seems unable to endure it anymore. Many human hotshots who used to listen to the head of the Yangs wanted to kill us so that they could become an ally of the 7 ancient factions. Begrudgingly, the Yang family and we had to separate. We stay in 2 different places in the perpetual night forest to avoid unwanted events. Imu was sorrowful, telling Shi Yin the events they had been through since they had arrived in the divine Great Land. After he had finished narrating, Shi Yan's aura burst out. With a ruthless face, he said gloomily. So that's how it is. Shi Yin wasn't so surprised. Since he had found the dead bodies of the Dark Devil clan and the Wing clan, he could guess the situation. However, when he heard the stories from Imu, he still got enraged. Now, are they alive? Are any one of them, I mean the leaders, dead? Trying to press down his anger, Shi Yin took several deep breaths to calm himself. He was anxious that the result he was about to hear could make him crazy. Yimeng. General Yimeng is dead. One of the Shura kings of the Yang family is dead too. His name was Li Mu. Besides them, some other strong experts were killed, sobbed Imu. Shi Yan's face became more ruthless and darker. Who killed them? The Heaven Temple's disciple had killed Yimeng. Li Mu died in the hands of an elder of the Pure Land. Among the 7 ancient factions, besides Master Yuan, how of the Radiant God cult? The other leaders don't ban their disciples from killing us. Oh yeah, there's a small force called the Ice Emperor City. During the battle, they always showed mercy. They helped many members of us survive, explained Imu. Shi Yin was surprised. He had never expected that the 4 women of the Ice Emperor would help him at the most critical moment when humans hated the alien tribes a lot. It wasn't easy for them to do so. His chilled heart got warmer a little bit when he heard this story. Chapter 614. Change. Chapter 614. Change. Shady Firmament Old Mound. After 1 year, under the construction of the Ghost Mark clan, the vast area of countless gloomy graveyards became more colorful. A subterranean place should be dark and wet, but this area had many beautiful, exquisite buildings and palaces. These structures were covered with strange, evil symbols, which seemed like crawling worms. These arrays were mysterious and complicated. Those buildings weren't exceptionally tall. The tallest one was around dozens of meters tall at the most. However, they were made of a strange material that looked like cold, black iron, giving people a cold and sinister feeling. These buildings were arranged as if they followed some meaning in the world, which would give them some magical effects. Far from the buildings and palaces, there laid ruins of tombs. It seemed the barriers in those tombs had been removed. There was no energy fluctuation anymore. The two sages of the Ghost Mark clan were standing on a sacrificial altar where thick, mysterious chi hovered. They were performing an ancient ritual to offer sacrifice. Thousands of dead human bodies laid around the altar. Chi was moving everywhere. Flows of gray energy in air form exuded from the human corpses, pouring into the sacrificial altar. There was a sharp snow-white thorny pole on the altar. The tip of the thorn radiated dazzlingly, releasing evil cold chi as if it were connecting something. Not far from there, Bao Ao and the group of the Demon Clan's experts were standing and watching the event. They were looking attentively towards the sacrificial altar. Among the great alien tribes, the Ghost Mark clan had the most profound understanding of soul power. The altar they had built had the same function. It could cross space and collect the souls from the foreign lands, or make a connection with the outer areas. The two sages of the Ghost Mark clan had waited until the mysterious chi thickly gathering around the altar reached a certain degree to throw the written charm scripture out, using it as the fountain of power to activate the sacrificial altar. A flow of gloomy gray mist exuded from the altar. Precious gems sparkled in the mist, reflecting strange and evil rays. Clouds with the shape of souls gradually condensed in the mist. They couldn't see the real appearance, but the basic shapes. Anyway, it was enough to tell what creatures they were. Soul-shaped clouds changed mysteriously. Shortly, they floated from the altar to hundreds of meters high in the sky, as feeble soul fluctuations flowed out. The three experts of the Demon Clan, Bao Ao, Bo and Gu Si watched those drifting clouds, their faces happy. They hurried to use their souls to capture them. As they were all true God Realm warriors, and their God soul had been created. When they flickered their souls, the fierce soul fluctuations were too much to bear. Most of the clansmen of the Ghost Mark clan couldn't endure, so they had to back off. Soul fluctuations expanding in the void became more powerful. Those drifting soul-shaped clouds were moving back and forth, gradually making a marvelous connection with the god souls of Bao Ao's group of three. Bao Ao and the other two sat down neatly, closing their eyes. They didn't say anything. It seemed they were using the god soul to communicate. The two sages of the Ghost Mark clan, who were controlling the sacrificial altar, looked tense and anxious. The ash-gray energy from the human corpses was drained quickly. Around 1 hour later, the gray energy had run out completely. The two sages of the Ghost Mark clan watched the situation. They didn't hesitate taking back the written charm scripture. The robust power pouring into the altar was retrieved. Bao Ao's team was sensing with their eyes closed. Abruptly, they awakened, their countenance annoyed. Master Bao Ao, it isn't that we didn't want to help you. Honestly, we didn't have enough energy. Marrow, the sage of the Ghost Mark clan, smiled begrudgingly as he was rubbing his hands continually. If you can find the souls of Third Sky of Spirit Realm warriors to be the sacrifice, this altar can last longer. At this moment, we can't do more. When Bao Ao faced Yin, his temperament like warm weather. But at this moment, when he was talking to Marrow, a second sky of true God realm, he was sinister and brutal. His eyes seemed to contain endless wicked intents. Marrow, the price we've paid isn't small. That's how you get things done? Marrow beamed a forced smile, continually begging. Master Bao Ao, please give us more time. In 3 months max, we will satisfy you. 3 months later, our sacrificial altar could help you guys and the antiquity Demogorgon form a soul connection. Bao Ao's pupils shrank, and he kept silent for a while. Comoros smiled miserably, continually ensuring him. 1 month. We'll give you only 1 month. Bao Ao's brutal aura ceased. He became as calm as a tranquil stream. 1 month later, if you can't satisfy us, the agreement we have will be null and void. At that time, you should spit out what we've given you. Understand? Comoros nodded continuously, not daring to explain more as he agreed immediately. All right. 1 month. 1 month later. I'm sure you can form the soul connection with the antiquity Demogorgon. Good. Bao Ao laughed contentedly. He stood up and said faintly, I've wasted a lot of time. So, don't test my limit. Remember, you have only 1 month. Don't worry. Right after you leave, I'm going to the Martial Spirit Palaces area. Comoros patted his chest affirmatively. Bao Ao nodded approvingly. Oh yeah, the kid named Yin you've met. I want to keep him for a reason. If you meet him, don't touch him. Or else, don't blame me for being impolite. A human? Frowned Comoros. Yeah. Although I don't know what Master Bao Ao keeps him for, as you've advised, I will follow you. I'm waiting for your good news. Bao Ao took Borua and Gu de Si, then left. After they had got out of the shady firmament, old mound to the bleak plain, Bao Ao knitted his brows and talked to Borua and Gu de Si. You guys go to the Endless Sea, the 3rd demon area and the 4th demon area. I think our fellows there have gotten out too. You guys get there and gather them. As our 2nd demon area has opened, the gates over there should have broken too. Remember to find the materials I want. We need to unlock the gate of the 1st demon area, not only to contact the antiquity Demogorgon in there, but also to prepare sufficient materials to break the seal. Don't worry, we will gather them, laughed Gu de Si. There aren't many strong experts in the 3rd and the 4th demon areas. So, it's impossible to have an ancient family there. Our ancient Bao family can unite the fellows there this time for sure. You should hurry. The ancient Jia family is about to come. If we let them open the 1st demon area first, all of our efforts will be wasted. Bao Ao snorted. When he mentioned the ancient Jia family, he seemed annoyed. Got it. Ancient corpse tomb. There were many gravestones scattering on a moor, each having a dark entrance leading to the palace underground. According to the legends, the ancient corpse tomb was a strange land that existed from the antiquity time. To have a slot in the ancient corpse tomb, the owner of the tomb should be formidable. Under the headstone, it was another world. People said that the biggest tomb even had a hidden space as big as an entire city. At a gravestone that had many strange drawings of the Corpse Clan, Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea, and their people had arrived from the Endless Sea. Traveling through dozens thousand miles, they had finally made it. Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea, and their fellows stopped in front of that grand headstone, using their special etiquette to bow in their distinct language to call. After a while, marvelous soul waves spread out from the entrance of the gravestone. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea shivered in thrill. They were both surprised and happy, jolting up from their slots as they took their people to enter that grave. The Northern Gem Mountain. Chao Qiu Dao, Fan Xiang Yuan, and their men still stayed in this place. They hid inside the mountain, not daring to walk out. Ear-splitting screams and screech often echoed from the nearby mountains. Sometimes, they heard the demonic beasts howling. All of them were more than enough to scare them out of their wits. Mangu wanted to get out there and hunt the beasts for food, but Chao Qiu Dao stopped him with only one sentence. There are 2 level 8 beasts among the herd. Mangu quit his idea instantly, staying still inside the mountain. Would that kid Yin dump us here? If so, staying dully here isn't different from finding a way to death, right? Fan Xiangyun looked at the teleportation formation in front of her, eating some fruits with her distressed mood. Do you have any better ideas? Chao Qiu Dao said dispiritedly, throwing her a glare. If you have a better idea, I'll follow you. As long as you can save everybody, whatever it is, we'll follow you. Just tell us what to do. Fan Xiangyun was bewildered. Later on, she said feebly, I know nothing about the divine great land. Then, it won't work. Chao Chiu Dao harumphed. I hear Shi Yin said that the Radiant God Cult has true God Realm warriors, but now they are also in peril. What should we do? Fan Xiang Yun didn't talk more. Just wait then. At this moment, it's the most precise solution. If you don't have any business to do, don't go out. If our location is disclosed, calamity will fall on us. Chao Chiu Dao sighed, not knowing what to do. All of them felt dispirited as they smiled miserably. Staying in this situation without a single hope, they didn't know when it would end. It's over there. That's all that the two clans have now. Master Yin, I hope you can help us survive. Emu led the way to an extremely luxuriant foliage area. He talked to Shi Yin and pointed to a forest that had no leaks at all. Shi Yin nodded quietly. Don't worry. As long as I'm alive, I will arrange things properly. Young Master Yin, please get in. Emu smiled begrudgingly. The Grand General should know of your arrival by now. They have opened the gate of the barrier. We can get it now. Yeah, Shi Yin was emotional. Somehow, he didn't dare to step in as he didn't know how sorrowful the situation would be behind this barrier. Master, even when he hadn't got in, the sad voices of Etianimo and Kaba greeted him. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.